Just to request all of you to mute yourself so that if at all there is any disturbance, one disturbance in one surrounding, it can affect the listening capacity of many candidates. So if you have any question or something, you can put it in the chat box, or else you can unmute and you can ask. There is no problem in that. Okay, but just as a matter of principle, since there is almost a participation of 100 plus candidates, I request that you may please go on in mute mode. Okay. Now, friends, let me, you can see the introductory slide. The session that we are going to have today is shipping economics. I am the guest faculty of NMIS. My name is Dinesh Narayanan Kutty. I am working with the Shipping Corporation of India, which I think since you have enrolled for a course on shipping management, you should have definitely heard about this company. It is the biggest shipping company in India. It is an Navaratna public sector enterprise. I'm a senior management personnel over there and almost 2 decades of experience in shipping fraternity, particularly in commercial and chartering. Okay, just to give you a brief introduction about myself, because you need to know what your faculty is all about. As I told you, for last 22 years, I have been associated with chartering and commercial aspects of shipping management. By profession, I've completed my Masters in Commerce from Bombay University. I've done my MBA in Finance from a very reputed institute in the South. I am a fellow member of Narottam Moraji Institute of Shipping, not now, just 15, 16 years back. I was first year All India Gold Medalist, second year All India Gold Medalist. I've also done my professional qualification from Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, London. I've also done my Masters in Business Law from NUJS, Calcutta. So this is my basic academic background. So like all of you, I started my journey with NMIS as a student. Those days, the sessions used to happen in Nariman Point office, where NMIS office is located. I was a distance education student because after I got a job in SCI, I enrolled for the NMIS course. And over the years, after I completed my 2 years course, there was one professor by the name Dr. Hariharan, late Shri Dr. Hariharan, who is one of the mentor of the institute. It was his concept of having a institute for commercial shipping management. That's how NMIS actually got established. He was a very senior faculty. He became old. So he told me, Dinesh, you start taking session for the second year chartering. So I started taking lectures for chartering second year students. Then eventually he became a little more old. He said that, Dinesh, considering your background and all, you start taking lectures on economics of sea transport. Economics of sea transport was a first year subject for 100 marks. And that's how I started taking sessions on economics of sea transport. Okay, economics, the name itself is irritating, isn't it? Yeah, most of the candidates will agree with me that subject itself is pretty irritating. Okay, so the fact is now the institute has tagged me as a faculty of shipping economics. So whether liking or not liking, I continue to be your coach or your mentor or your guide for shipping economics. Now let me tell you, previously, just about 1 year back, we had economics for both the years. First year, you had economics of sea transport, which was a 100-mark question paper. And second year, you had shipping economics, which was a 50-mark question paper. 50-mark shipping economics and 50-mark shipping finance. This was what was the syllabus for the second year. But eventually what happened is we felt that, a lot of candidates who are from the logistics industry, they are interested introduced a new subject called as logistics management in your second year. And therefore, we had to sacrifice one subject. So what we did is shipping economics and shipping finance, we brought it to the first year. And the 150 mark economics is now translated into 75 marks, and 50 mark shipping finance is translated into 25 marks. Okay. So you are having the first year and the second year syllabus in first year only for 75 marks. Okay. So just to give you the background of the course, I'm sure a couple of sessions would have been over. The faculty would have guided you. But being an ex-student of NMIS and being very actively involved in the examination council, academic council of the institute, let me tell you what is the objective of this program and how you need to approach this particular program. You see the word I'm using. I'm using the word program. Okay, it is something which involves people have started this year for another 2 years. Okay. Now, if you look at the academic course, okay, predominantly it is a course on commercial shipping management with some insights into logistics industry. Okay, that is what this course is all about. If you look at your subjects that you are covering in the first year, you are having subjects like shipping practice. Okay, it is a subject which actually deals with the basic concepts that is used in the shipping industry. Okay, all the basic concepts. So everything, it will be covered in a nutshell. Okay, that is what is shipping practice. They will be giving you one very old book, a book which was printed in the beginning 80s, written by Stephen Butterfield. It's a handout. It's a simple handout which you can keep it as an asset with you. Any concept, if you have a doubt, you can refer to that book. Okay, even today I have that book. Then you have another subject called as current shipping environment. You should understand international shipping, they run on regulations. Okay, there are a lot of international regulations that the ships or shipping companies have to abide by. Okay, and because the framework is like that, lot of regulations, lot of conventions, the regulatory framework of shipping industry is foolproof. Okay, so what are these regulations? How it is being applied? Okay, like all of you would have heard of the famous incident called as Titanic. Am I right? You would have seen the movie also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, a romantic film after all. You know, I went with my wife. Okay, then I was looking at the shipping angle of it and she was looking at the love angle of it. Okay, the perspective was different. Now, Titanic was a revolution in the shipping industry. Why it was a revolution? Because after the incident of Titanic, because the best part about Titanic is that after the incident of Titanic, lot of VIPs lost their life. Okay, very important personnel who were there on board, they lost their life. So a lot of regulations came. Like one very popular regulation which came out was SOLAS, safety of life at sea. Okay, which says that what should be the capacity of the lifeboats vis-a-vis the number of people on board. Okay, if you remember in the Titanic movie, one major problem was that the lifeboat capacity was less. However, the number of people on board were more. Okay, so a lot of regulations came in. So what I'm trying to say is that every incident, every accident, every any changes which happen in a regulation in a particular country, it has an impact on the shipping industry. It has an impact on the international trade. Thereby, it has an impact on the shipping industry. And you come out with a new set of regulation, new set of convention. So that is what you will be dealing in the current shipping environment. Then you have, if I'm correct, shipping law. Okay. Common laws like Contract Act 1872, you will be learning. Law of agency, you will be learning. And certain specific laws related to shipping. Like one very big enactment is COGSA, Carriage of Goods by Sea Act. Okay. This you will be learning in your first year. Then you have shipping economics, which I will be dealing, okay? And I will explain to you what it is all about. Shipping finance, you know, whenever you acquire ship is never bought. You don't take your money from the bank and go and buy ship, no. Ship is a capital asset. It involves sourcing of finance. It involves a proper project layout. You need to know that I am investing, I'm doing a capital investment of 150 crore rupees, 200 crore rupees, 250 crore rupees. What will be the payback period for this investment? So there is a finance angle to shipping. So shipping finance deals with that. And then shipping economics, I said, current shipping environment, shipping practice, shipping law, and then you have commercial geography, right? Any shipping practitioner, one very important thing he needs to know is what is the commercial geography? Means how does the world map look? Okay, what is the relevance of tides? What is the relevance of ocean currents? Okay, which are the major ports of loading a particular cargo? Which are the major ports of discharging a particular cargo? I say Northwest Australia. You should immediately know Northwest Australia means which part of Australia I am saying, which are the major ports over there. I say coal is being moved from Brazil. Which are the areas from where the coal or the iron ore is moved from Brazil? It should strike you. And that is the reason you have a subject called commercial geography, where 40 marks is allotted towards map work. You have to basically do the map work. Now, this is your first year curriculum. In the first year, the focus is to explain the basics of commercial shipping management. You should know the basics. What are the basics of commercial shipping? Then you go or you progress to the second year, wherein you get on to specialization. You have subjects like marine insurance in the second year. Marine insurance. Shipping is an adventurous business. We say shipping is maritime adventure. Where there is adventure, there is risk. Where there is risk, there is insurance. So maritime insurance, a specialized topic, and you will be getting into specialization. Then you have chartering, the subject which I deal, which is the core commercial activity of shipping. In shipping, one of the most commercial activity is chartering of ships. So that is the area which you'll be covering in your second year. Then you have logistics management. Okay. Today, we speak of door-to-door solution. Right from the seller's factory up to the buyer's project site, the cargoes will have to be moved. So there is a lot of logistics associated in the movement of the goods. What is the logistics? Over here, something called as SCM, supply chain management. You will be having some insights. Then you will have a subject called as multimodal transport and containerization, container industry. It's very specific, specialized. So you will be getting an exposure to that. And the fifth topic, you will be again getting acquainted with law, shipping law. Over here, like first year, you are having only few enactments of shipping law. Second year, you will be studying law in greater detail. So this is what is your program, your 2-year program on shipping management. Now, let me tell you, if you are expecting that after completing this 2-year course, you are going to be a specialist in shipping, then let me tell you, you are in a wrong myth. Okay? You are not going to be in any way going to be specialist in any subject, because this is a generic commercial shipping management course. And the idea is that once you complete your 2-year curriculum, you should know that which is your area of interest and how is that you need to frame your career objective. Which exactly, okay, I'm a student of law. You know, marine insurance is the subject which I find a great fascination. I'm a person who wants to do hardcore commercial shipping. I want to fix freight rates for the ships. I want to see how to employ the ship. This is my core activity. Chartering is my area. I'm a person who is very contented with agency activity, with freight forwarding activity. Then container industry is the area which I need to focus upon. Shipping is just one perspective. I need to know the entire chain. Then that is the reason logistics interests me. So the idea is that after 2 years, you have a fair idea as to how this industry is operating, and from there you can take off. Now, let me tell you, during around half a decade back when I was a candidate, the passing percentage used to be very, very bad. Okay. And I'll be very year result, the institute Mr. Matthew, you have raised your hand. Is there any question?
Sir, hi. By mistake, it's censored. Sorry.
No issues, no issues. Okay. When I had gone to the institute to collect my second year result, at that time I remember the then director, Mr. Menon, telling me, Dinesh, only 6 candidates has passed the chattering paper. This was the passing percentage. But let me tell you, over the years, because during those days, we had to only refer to textbooks. Some basic handouts was given, but predominantly we had to refer to thick textbooks which was there in your library. And we used to make our own notes and we prepared ourselves for the examinations. But today, modern days, things have changed. You are getting a full detailed study material. The faculty shares his PowerPoint presentations. You have live recording of the lectures, which you can always revisit. So with the changing times, with more digitalization in imparting education, you people are much more well aided. But let me tell you, while most of you are cracking your examinations, because we have also understood that making the examination very difficult or complicating it by putting mind-boggling problems and all, what we can see is that the passing percentage comes down and the candidates get stuck with the degree for 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 4 or 5 years. We have also realized that we have to be reasonably fair to the candidates who have enrolled for the PG diploma program. But what I will tell you is that in your zeal to clear examination, clearing examination is very, very important, no doubt about it. Please don't compromise on your knowledge acquisition process. What I can visibly see is that most of the candidates 2 or 3 days before the examination, they take the material, make quick notes. If you're very good in English, if you know the basics, then maybe, and you solve some past question papers, maybe that you will get the so-called cutoff mark of 50 out of 100 and you will get through. But is that going to help you? My answer is no, it's not going to help you. Especially, I know quite a few in this batch of 120, which is now listening to me. Many of you are freshers. When I say freshers, you have no idea of what shipping is all about. Somebody told you shipping management का एक बहुत बड़ा institute है and it is something doable. The course fees is not very high, so you have enrolled. So after completing this course, you will be looking for a jobs in the shipping fraternity, in the shipping industry. And without knowledge, let me tell you, you don't stand a good chance. It is extremely important that you need to sharpen your skills, acquire more knowledge about the industry. And for that, what do you need to do? What do you need to do? You need to read. Okay, the institute is having a very beautiful library. They give books for references. Take some time, read. Today is a modern day. Everything is available in the internet. Areas of your interest, develop the practice, develop the habit of reading. I know candidates who don't even read the study material completely. See, let me tell you now, this is perhaps my 11th year as a guest faculty. Okay. And unfortunately, because of this unprecedented COVID times, we are meeting digitally. Otherwise, we used to have physical classes. And because being a faculty for shipping economics in first year and chartering for second year, by and large, by the time the candidates reach second year, some of them I know personally. I could identify the candidates who's going to make a difference. And believe me, most of them have been very successful in their career. At least few of them whom I have identified, they have been very successful. Now, what is the spark that I saw in them is that they are not just following the dogmatic mugging process of understanding shipping and just vomiting in their examination. They are trying to conceptually understand the subject. And that is what...
Excuse me, sir. Yeah, excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir,
Yes, please.
which is dealing with end-to-end distribution logistic solution. So after completing this particular MBA degree, can I in shipping management program or like shipping management position?
I have fun. Honestly, you...
Apply for all those shipping management.
No. Frankly speaking, you were not at all audible.
Yeah.
You blanked off in between.
Yeah.
What you are trying to ask me is that after completing this course, whether you will get a job in the shipping management position or something, is it? What was your question?
Sejal, could you repeat your question?
My friend, what I suggest is just put your question on the chat box because you are not at all audible. And to my knowledge, you are not audible to other candidates also, perhaps.
Yes, sir. I think it's net issue.
Sir.
Yeah. Please put down your question in the chat box. I will just respond to you. Okay, because you are not audible. You are breaking in between.
Yes, sir, is it possible to make your voice louder?
Am I not louder?
No, sir.
Right now it's okay.
I speak at a very high pitch here. What do you mean?
Sir, your voice is all loud and clear. Maybe on their side, some network issue.
You are audible, sir, clearly.
Okay. So my friend, you avoid the other distractions around to make myself more clear. Okay. So friends, this was the introductory part. I just, since we are meeting for the first time and being an ex-student, I thought I'm duty bound to tell you this, that please get serious about the program. Okay. And don't bother about examination. Hook or crook, you guys will clear the exams. I know it. अभी तो online exams है, चांदी ही चांदी है आप लोगों को. Okay. I know how online exams, with what seriousness you people attempt, how are you answering and everything. I know it very well. Okay. But that's not the whole objective. Just having a degree, just having a PG degree with you is not going to help you. I'm again and again telling you, the difference is the knowledge that you are going to have. The industry knows, which are the candidates and what is the level of knowledge that they need to have. Okay. So now with that note, friends, we will start our discussions on shipping economics. If I'm correct, I will have 4 sessions. 4 sessions, that is 4 into 3, 12 hours sessions I will be having. Okay. It's very unfortunate that I have to connect digitally, because I just don't like digital interaction. Because what happens in a digital interaction is that I have to tell all of you to mute. Okay. And there is a monologue going. I am just keeping on talking. Okay. I prefer dialogue. And for me to have a dialogue, the problem is that if I ask all of you to unmute, we will have a lot of disturbances in between and it will not help in the flow of the session. So, but let me tell you that time and again, I will keep on asking questions. I will identify a person. I will ask that person to answer. So you will have to unmute and answer. Okay. If you're keeping your video on, very good. Nice. I can at least see some of you. If you're not keeping your video on also, I am okay. Okay. Because I know how you people attend sessions sitting at home. So I can understand the challenges. So now friends, before I start with the session, I will just open the chat box. Any candidate who has never ever studied economics in their life, is there any candidate who has never ever studied economics in their life? Just put it in your chat box. Never ever you have studied economics. Okay, but Sheena, Sanjeev. Yes means what? You people are saying that you have never ever studied, is it?
Yes, sir. Never studied.
Acha, you have never ever studied. Okay, okay, never. Okay, Mahesh Pratap Singh ji. Okay, you are saying that you have never ever studied. So that means you are a science graduate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you never studied in 9th standard, 10th standard economics? Mahesh ji. Where is Mahesh ji?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. You never studied economics even in your 9th standard, 10th standard?
That will be very basic, I guess, because right now I'm sailing as chief engineer. So
my question was very clear. I didn't ask how much knowledge you had. I only asked, have you ever studied economics? That means you have studied economics. Am I right? Like, see, so many things we learn. We learn moral science in our school. Am I right? But if you ask me, none of us follow it. Or we don't know what it is. Okay, but you have learned what is moral science. So you have studied economics. Okay, fine. The mechanical engineer says that Mr. Sagar Prahlad, being a mechanical engineer student, never studied it. Oh, I see. Okay. Surprising. So you are not even studied at the school level.
Sir, in school level, many of them are even not hardly 6 to 70 marks in some of the schools. That's why many of them are not knowing that they are having economics also, because it was like just 6 or 7 marks, so they were like, yeah, it will be.
Okay.
Yeah, we had just history, civics, and geography. Economics was never a subject in school. But no, I did it in college as a former student, but school never had economics.
Okay. Fine. Well noted. So some of you are there who have never ever studied. Okay, I don't know because I passed out from the school about 27, 28 years back. We had 9th and 10th standard economics. Okay, so I'm a little surprised. Maybe, we never know. Okay, but majority of the candidates, barring few, have definitely studied economics, right? So my question to all of you is, what is economics? What is your interpretation of economics? Don't Google or Wikipedia or anything. Just what runs in your mind, just tell me. What is economics?
Sir, demand and supply. The study of analysis of demand and supply is called economics.
Okay, what's your good name?
My name is Sajal Kumar, sir.
Sajanji.
Yeah.
It is a study of demand and supply.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk of economics, demand and supply bolna hi hai. Right?
Yeah.
There is a teenage classroom. Students who are of teen age. Okay? Yeah. There are 20 boys, 10 girls. Don't you think there is a demand supply problem there?
Yes, sir, of course. Yes, sir.
There is a demand. There is more demand but less supply.
Yes, sir.
So is that an economic problem?
Yeah, of course, sir. We can consider it under economics.
My God. Okay. So wonderful. I like your interpretation. So that is, so it is a study of demand and supply. Okay. Any other interpretation?
The state of affair. It can be state of affair of an individual.
Financial status.
It is a financial status. Very generic, you know. I'm not asking big. See, suppose if a small child, a 4th standard student child comes to you and tells you, economics ka matlab kya hai? What you will tell him? Financial status? Or will you tell him demand and supply?
Sir, I guess selling of goods and services for profit.
You said something goods and services.
Buying and selling of some product or some good for profit.
Selling of goods or services. Okay. Financial status, economics means supply of goods, services from one. It is financial status. It is study of economy. Okay. Or complicated.
Sir, I guess
Topics
it is a study
related to
of
money.
financial structure.
It is dealing with financial structure. Okay. Economics is business. You know?
Financial health of any country, industry, or organization.
Okay.
Sir, I have one more try. I want to do one more try, sir.
Do the try. Any
Yes.
number of attempts is permitted.
Yeah, sir. We can simply define economics as the study of overall production of goods and services and its consumption in the market.
Very good. Very good. Okay, I will just.
So it's a
just tell
state
you.
of affair. It can be related to an individual, to a state, or a country.
State of health affairs. Can that be in economics?
Yeah, health is also part of economics. If you have too many unhealthy people, then you're you're too much.
Okay. Okay, now I'm getting multiple answers. Economics is a study of how people deal with values, productions, capitals, distributions. Very good. That's perfect. It's about maintaining balance in market in terms of money. Okay, I will just sum it up. If all of you can just again mute yourself. Now, there are several definitions for economics, multiple definitions for economics. And it's not that what you people said was wrong. All of you were right from different perspectives. You can define economics. All of you are more or less right. But the very basic definition of economics is a social science. Economics is a social science which deals with production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. It is a social science. What do you mean by social science? Social science means it is dealing with the society. It is dealing with the people. And that is the reason you will invariably see that the economic policies of different countries are different. What economic policies can apply in United States? Can that apply in Russia? No, not really. No. One is a capitalist economy, another is an communist socialist economy. What principles apply in Great Britain? Can it apply in China? Not really. What principles apply in India? Can it apply in Cuba? Not really. Because the reason is that when you speak of economics, it is dealing with people. It is dealing with the aspirations of the people. It is dealing with the culture of the people. It is dealing with the tastes of the people. Am I right? In India, you could afford to have a cow ban. But can you think of having a cow ban in any of the Far East countries? It's literally not possible because there is an issue of tastes of people over there. So economics is a social science. Next is it deals with production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Okay, and shipping is a service industry. Mind it, shipping is a service industry. Now, why are you producing it? Because there is a demand, there is a need. That is the reason you are producing it. But why are you distributing it? You are distributing it basically because the resources are scattered, the resources are limited. India is one of the biggest importer of crude oil. India is the second largest Asian country to import crude oil. We are the third in the world for importing petroleum products, crude oil in particular. Okay, why are we doing that? Because there is scarcity of crude oil in India. We have a huge population whose requirement needs to be met. So that is the reason somebody is producing it, it is getting distributed to you, and therefore you are consuming it. And definitely it says that another definition of economics is economics meets unlimited wants with limited resources. It is said that human wants are unlimited. Human wants never end. It keeps on increasing. Am I right? All of you can just guess. You know, when I completed my MBA, I was in Bombay Stock Exchange, you know, in just late 90s, just before 2000. At that time, mobile phone was a very big luxury. We all had the big mobile phone of Motorola. And what used to happen is that in Bombay Stock Exchange, any gentleman who was carrying mobile phone attached to his pants, we used to know that he's actually the broker. He's the registered SEBI broker, because only he could afford a mobile phone. One incoming call for 1 minute, the cost used to be 7 rupees. That was the price for an incoming call. Outgoing call, though, you don't ask me only. So during those days, I used to imagine that never ever in my life I will own a mobile phone, because it is so expensive. But you see today, what is the state? My primary school going daughter also demands iPhone 11. So that is how the technology. Now, why does this happen? Because human wants are unlimited, absolutely unlimited. And because of that, there is always a demand for goods, which results in production, distribution, and consumption of goods. So this cycle continues. Now, many of you said that economics is something that deals with money. Quite right. Money management is one of the most critical aspects of economics. There is no doubt in that. But you should understand that during olden days, there was something called as barter trade, wherein goods were exchanged for goods. One guy will give rice and he will take sugar. Another guy will give wood and he will take some wheat. Okay. Was money involved there? There was no money. Money as a medium of exchange did not exist at all, but economics existed at that time. There was the concept of economics during that time. So the very simple definition is, it is a social science which deals with production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Now, there are two schools. One school is called as microeconomics, and another school is called as macroeconomics. Okay, I'm not going very deep because we have to get to the industry. We have to speak about shipping. What is microeconomics? Microeconomics is an old school economics. Big time old school economists like Alfred Marshall, Adam Smith, David Ricardo. Okay, these are not Hollywood stars. These are economists, big time economists who revolutionized the concept of economics or the subject of economics. These people, they believed in an old school concept wherein they said that economics is nothing but a study of a market, study of an individual market. Now, what is a market? Market is a place where there is a buyer and there is a seller. Buyer buys goods and seller demands his price for the goods. That is market. Now, they said that you have to study the behavior between the buyer and seller, and that is the study of economics. If there is one seller, many buyers, then you call it as a monopoly. You call it as a monopoly market. There are two sellers, many buyers, you call it duopoly market. There is one buyer, many seller, we call it as a monopsony market. There are many buyers, many sellers, we say it is a perfectly competitive market. Perfect competition exists. Now, this was what was the concept of old school economist or microeconomist. The study was for individual markets. And they definitely defined all their concepts that what will happen in the near term, that is short term, what will happen during the medium term, and what will happen in the long term. They always believed that in the long term, everything will fall in place. If there is any imbalance, if there is any kind of an imbalance which exists in the market, in the long term, everything will fall in place. And that was the philosophy of the microeconomists. Then came Dr. Keynes, who introduced something called as macroeconomics. He said, economics is not study of an individual market. And this concept that in the long term, everything will be okay is an incorrect analysis of a situation. Because in the long term, we all are dead. What is the point in discussing that in the long term, everything will be okay when we are all dead? So he said that we should have a macro approach. Macro approach means holistic approach for a given situation. By having a macro approach, we will exactly know what is the situation in the industry, what is the situation in an economy, what is the situation in any particular, or for that matter, what is the situation in the world. They believed in having some kind of an economic indicators. They introduced few indicators. With these indicators, you will know what is the state of an economy. They came out with something called as GDP, gross domestic product. You look at the gross domestic product, you will know what is the state of an economy. They brought in something called as inflation, deflation. Rising prices is inflation, decreasing prices is deflation. Food inflation in India has gone up by 2%. It clearly says that the prices of food products, grains have gone up plus 2%. You will know what is the macro situation in India. So they said that, national income, national domestic product, all these kind of concepts, okay, was introduced by macroeconomics. And today, when you speak of economics, you always speak at a macro level. You don't speak at a micro level. So whenever we are discussing economics or we are discussing shipping economics, I will be speaking at a macro level. It will be never be at a micro level. Something related to the world shipping industry, something related to Indian shipping industry. It will not be for a specific company or for a specific sector as such. Okay, so this is the two schools, microeconomics and macroeconomics. Like I was reading one book, in that a beautiful summary was given. They were saying that, from a turtle management, microeconomics believed in a turtle management and macroeconomics believe in an eagle management. Okay, students who have done management, they will understand what I'm saying. What does a turtle do? A turtle, to find its food, it moves in a very small vicinity. It moves in a small area to find a much more bigger peripheral area to find its prey. It is at a distance, but it watches its prey from the top and it covers much more bigger distance or bigger area. So that is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, friends, as I told you, let's talk about the shipping industry. Okay, shipping is a service industry. And the best part about shipping is that shipping deals with international trade. All of you agree with me? Yes. What is shipping all about? What is the job of shipping? When I'm talking shipping, it is merchant shipping. We are not talking defense shipping. We are talking of merchant shipping, where the objective of the ship is to carry goods. Okay. So when you speak of shipping industry, what is one of the main aspect of shipping industry is that it is directly related to international trade. How big is the international trade will have a direct influence on the shipping industry. Now, before we get on to that, you people just tell me, this is just one of the slides. We'll just quickly go through it. Microeconomics is the study of a particular markets and segments of the economy. It looks at issues such as consumer behavior, individual labor markets, and theory of firms. Macroeconomics is the study of the whole economy. It looks at aggregate variables such as aggregate demand, national output, and inflation. Okay. Now you just answer me this question, a very, very simple question. What is the question? What commodities are traded by sea?
LPG, LNG.
Okay. What are the type of goods that is being traded by
LNG, LPG, chemicals, coal, grain.
So solid, liquid, gases.
Basically, everything around us that we see. That's
Dry, sir, I think dry, liquid, and break bulk.
So FMCG goods, like fast moving consumer goods.
High volume cargoes.
So the basically thing is like whatever can be movable from one place to another place by ship, it can be called a goods.
The commodities which are at a high volume.
What can be traded by ship, whatever can be carried on the ship are the goods.
Hello, sir. Like from pin to pen or
you are 100% Bombay University commerce student. I can tell you that.
Exactly, sir.
Okay. From one sentence, you can make 6 sentences. Okay. All portable goods are moved. Portable goods. Okay. Portable बोल के word है कि portable है. Or do you mean that all the goods that can be taken into the port? Okay, fine. So one candidate has very rightly said everything around us. Am I right? We see can be taken by the ships. One person simply says solids, liquids and gases. Everything. आप जो भी डालना है डाल दो. Okay. Okay. Goods that other country cannot produce are traded. Okay. Akira Ramachandran. Okay, friends. I think just imagine such a question comes in your examination, which will never come. What are the goods traded by sea? You know, if you don't know the answer for other questions, also 3 hours you can sit and write this only. Isn't it? Anything that you see, you can say trees, you can say curtains, you can say benches, you can say chair, you can say the cooler, you can say the air conditioner, the frames, the windows, everything you can say. Okay, that's more or less all of you know that there are different types of ships. There are different specialized ships which carry different type of goods. But before that, let's professionally put out that what are the type of goods that is traded by sea. Okay. The business of shipping is basically distributed into different trades. You can see over here, energy trade, agricultural trade, metal industry trade, forest product trade, other industrial materials, and other manufacturers. Okay, the different types of trade is very clearly demonstrated or distributed over here. Energy trade. What do you mean by energy trade? It says that this group of commodities dominate bulk shipping. Now here you come with a new term called as bulk shipping. Break bulk shipping and bulk shipping. Now what is the difference between the two? Okay, people from the shipping industry, I'm sure many of you will be from the shipping industry. You will know what it is, but just for the general consumption, bulk shipping are those set of cargoes wherein homogeneous type of cargo is loaded in the cargo compartments of the ship. Homogeneous type of cargoes. Like you are having a bulk carrier ship. Bulk carrier carries dry cargoes. Tankers carry wet cargoes. Now bulk carriers, dry bulk carriers, they are having cargo compartments. Okay, we call them as cargo holds. Now, if you're carrying an iron ore, you're carrying an iron ore shipment, let us say from Australia in Dampier for discharge at Zhoushan in China. All the cargo compartments will have iron ore as the cargo. Iron ore in the powder solid, on the powder form will be loaded in all the cargo compartments. It is bulk shipping. Crude oil. Crude oil is getting loaded, let us say from Ras Tanura in Saudi Arabia for discharge in Mumbai. Tanker ship will be the ship which will carry this cargo. All the cargo tanks will have crude oil. Homogeneous type of cargoes is loaded in all the cargo compartments. There will be one shipper, the person who has loaded the goods, one receiver of the lading. Okay, bills of lading is nothing but a document which evidences that there is contract of goods by sea. It is a document which evidences that there is a contract of goods by sea. Now, what is break bulk shipping? It is again an old form of shipping. Olden days, a lot of break bulk carriers used to be there. Now, break bulk shipping has slowly lost its sheen because of excessive containerization. But break bulk shipping means cargoes of different forms, of different specifications are being loaded. In one consignment, you will have sacks of cements, you will have drums of oil, you will have, gallons of cotton. Different cargoes are getting loaded. Multiple shippers, multiple receivers, multiple sets of bills of lading. Now, container shipping. Yes, Mr. Oshin, you raised your hand. Any question?
Yes, sir. This is Oshin. It's Miss Oshin. Sir, I just wanted to ask, why is containerization beating break bulk?
Okay, I'll come to that.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the very fact that in a break bulk shipping, multiple cargoes are getting loaded, multiple shippers, multiple receivers, and you have multiple sets of bills of lading. So you will find different types of cargoes that is getting loaded. Containerization, coming to the question raised by Oshin. Containerization is something which actually evolved in the 60s. It is exponentially growing today. Okay. You can visibly see that the volume in which the containerization is growing is very, very fast. And the reason why containerization, or the so-called the box business, is actually taking over the break bulk business is because of the specializations that is happening in the container fraternity. Today, you are having multiple types of containers. You are having dry van containers. You are having 20 feet containers, 40 feet containers, 20 high cube containers, 40 high cube containers. You have open stack containers, open rooftop containers. You are having pen containers. You are having tank containers. You are also having containers which can even carry project cargoes. So what has happened is the specialization that has happened in the container fraternity, the specialized type of containers that has come in, people find it more comfortable in consolidating and securing their cargo on the containers rather than carrying it in a lashed condition on the ships. And that is one of the reasons why containerization has taken a major chunk of business of the break bulk. Break bulk still exists, but if you see the nature of cargo, the cargoes are actually moved on the containers, okay? Because frankly speaking, break bulk is an umbrella. Containerization is one part or one spoke of this whole umbrella. Yes, Mahesh.
Sir, I just want to ask you, like you said, in a container there is a project goods also. What does it mean? There's a project good.
Project goods means multi-dimensional cargo. Abhi, for example, you just imagine अगर तुम लोग को एक पेट्रोलियम रिफाइनरी के लिए आपको एक बहुत बड़ा इंस्टॉलेशन को शिप करना है, ओके, नहीं तो समझ लो आपको जर्मनी से हेलीकॉप्टर को लेके आना है, 4-5 हेलीकॉप्टर को लेके आना है. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ ए प्रोजेक्ट कार्गो. Am I right? वो आपको नॉर्मल
dismantle and assemble.
Dismantling, sometimes it is carried as a whole unit.
Yeah.
Okay. So this becomes project cargo, multi-dimensional cargos. Okay. So break bulk, if you predominantly see nowadays, it is a project cargos that is moving. Okay. You will not find the standard raw materials getting moved in the break bulk business. They are very specialized cargos that will be moving in a break bulk business. Okay. So now, energy trade is dominating bulk shipping means almost 45% of the seaborne trade, that is goods traded by sea, is for the energy trade. Now, which are these goods? One is crude oil. Okay, crude oil. Okay, it is carried on tankers. Okay, we call it as, you know, crude oil is one of the most strategic product that is traded by sea. You know, crude oil, please mute yourself. Crude oil is called as, please mute yourself. Crude oil is called as black gold. All of you may be knowing that. Okay, lot of cargoes are moving. That is, lot of countries are there which are importers of crude oil. There are few countries which are exporters of crude oil, and there will be continuous movement in these sectors from the load port to the discharge ports. Okay, so crude oil is a very strategic product, which actually crude oil is generally, it is a raw material for the refinery. Therefore, it comes in the family of energy trade. Then you have oil products. When you say oil products, this is basically the distillates of crude oil. Okay, distillates of crude oil means derived from crude oil. The crude oil goes into the refinery, it is refined, and after refined, you get the other products: petroleum, diesel, petrol, diesel, kerosene, naphtha, high-speed diesel, air turbine fuel. These are all cargoes that is derived after refining the mother oil called as the crude oil. Okay. See, if you look at the petroleum industry is basically divided into two parts. One is carriage of DPP. DPP means dirty petroleum products. And next is carriage of CPP. CPP means clean petroleum products. Now, what is dirty petroleum products? Crude oil is a dirty petroleum product. Then there is something called as fuel oil. Okay, fuel oil is one of the bunker fuel used on the ship. It is coming in the family of DPP. Then there is something called as carbon black feedstock, low sulfur wax residue. These are the cargoes which come in the DPP family. Coming to the CPP, kerosene, diesel, naphtha, this all come in the CPP family. So the type of tankers which carry the cargoes are also different. Like product oil, that is the CPP, for that, the tanks should be having an epoxy coating. If they are having an epoxy coating, then only they can carry the CPP goods. Okay. The normal crude oil carriers, they don't have the so-called coating. They are not coated tanks. Okay. Now, another category is liquefied gas. Somebody told LPG and LNG, right? LPG is liquefied petroleum gas. LNG is liquefied natural gas. LNG shipping is considered to be the future for the tanker industry. It is believed that all the fossil fuels will get evaporated after 10-20 years, or rather the trade of the fossil fuels will slowly start declining. It is the LNG which will have an upper hand. LNG shipping is what is going to be the future of tanker shipping. Yes, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, yes.
Yes, sir. We find that nowadays so many vessels coming from Indonesia, Australia, with coal cargo. So in future, can we assume that this LNG and all these will remove that coal from?
No, I will come to that. I'll come to that. Since you have raised the point, as the next cargo is coal, liquefied gas, and the next cargo that is given is coal. See, LNG shipping, one more thing I need to tell you. This is the most expensive form of ships available in the market. Okay. Subse expensive form of ship is the LNG ship. Okay. A standard size LNG ship. Today, the price of one standard size LNG ship is about $200 million. $200 to $220 million is the size of an standard LNG ship. Okay. In India, Shipping Corporation of India is the only company which owns LNG ships. Nobody else owns LNG ship. SCI has 5 LNG ships, and this 5 LNG ships also is not fully owned by SCI. It is a part of a consortium agreement. NYK, Mitsui OSK line, all of and SCI, they came together and they have done investment in one LNG ship. One LNG ship, one company. Another LNG ship, another company. Because the price of one ship itself is $220 million. So you can imagine what is the price of an LNG ship. Very specialized form of ship, which has a very specialized set of crew actually operating it. Then comes the coal. Okay. Now, when I say coal over here, what I mean is the thermal coal, the steam coal, because there are two types of coal which is very actively traded. One is coking coal and another is the steam coal, that is thermal coal. Coking coal is a raw material mills. Okay. Thermal coal is a raw material for the power plants. And you can very visibly see that coal therefore forms a part of the energy trade because power plants forms a part of the energy business. Now, somebody was asking that, do you see that lot of coal is getting moved from Australia? Lot of coal is getting moved from Indonesia. Will this get substituted with LNG? Honestly speaking, I don't foresee that situation at least to happen in another 2 to 3 decades. It is not going to happen for the simple reason that most of the power plants that is getting established in the developing countries, particularly in the Asian countries, they are all on a power-based model. That is, you require the input or you require the raw material in the form of thermal coal for that power plant to operate. Okay. And I don't think that LNG eventually, yes, you know, with day by day, there is a lot of huge environmental issues that is coming up. And therefore, the movement will actually shift to natural gases. It will run to renewable energies. We are expecting that scenario to come. But as far as I have read a report of Intercargo, it very clearly demonstrates that on a year-to-year basis, till 2036, on an year-to-year basis, the demand for thermal coal and even coking coal is expected to increase. So almost you can say from now, almost for, you're talking of 15 to 20 years, they are not expecting any decline in the demand for thermal coal. They are actually anticipating an year-to-year increase in the requirement of coal. Beyond that, we never know what is the black swan that will operate and that will actually change the entire trading scenario. Have I answered you, Mr. Sanjeev?
One more thing, sir. Earlier in Congress government, once this BJP government came, they have reduced the import of coal maybe 40 or 50%.
I'll tell you, no, that is again going to be getting revived. The reason being our exploration of indigenous coal has increased. And because of our exploration of indigenous coal getting increased, Coal India is being specifically instructed to supply them indigenously. You may be knowing that quite a few of coal mines have also been put up by the Indian government, wherein private participation is permitted so that they can explore more and they can be indigenously actually used. This is one of the reasons why we saw a little bit of a decline in the demand for imported coal in India. See, everybody is doing that. Isn't China doing it? Yes. China keeps on changing their stand. Sometimes they say that we are going to reduce the imports of coal or iron ore, indigenously we are going to use. Then they see that the stocks are coming down, they stop the domestic usage, they start going for import. To a great extent depends upon what is the prices in the international markets, how much of strategic reserve they need to do. On that basis, this scenario will change. But by and large, the demand for coal, in fact, if I'm correct, what I understand is in 2022-23, India is going to be the biggest importer of coal than China. That is what is anticipated. This is one segment where the import of India is actually going to exceed China because of so many power plants expected to come in. Because of COVID disruptions, they are all slowed down. But once the economy starts kicking off post-COVID scenario, I am sure more private power plants, public participation projects will come in, and the import of coal to India is actually going to go up. Okay, I'll quickly run through. Next is agricultural trade. There are 12 commodities in this sector. Okay, they are almost 13% of the trade is towards agricultural trade. So which are the most common one? You have wheat, you have barley, you have animal foodstuffs, sugar, molasses, refrigerated food. Refrigerated means you carry it on the reefers. Oil, when you say oil over here, you mean edible oil. Okay, edible oil, you may be knowing one of the very important feature is hygiene is very important. So you have something called as stainless steel container tanks also. Okay, so edible oil, then fats and fertilizers. You all may be knowing India is one of the very big importer of palm oil. Okay, lot of palm oil moves from Indonesia, Malaysia to India. Okay, vanaspati, you know, that's huge demand in India. So edible oil definitely forms a part of your agriculture trade. Next is the metal industry trade. Okay, the metals, 20 to 25% trade belongs to this. Steel, iron ore, metallurgical coal, non-ferrous metal ores like nickel ore, chrome ore, then steel products and scrap. Lot of scrap. Scrap is again a raw material to the steel industry. Lot of scrap goods actually come to India and lot of scrap goods go out of India. So metal industry trades. Third is the forest product trades. Okay, timber. Okay, logs and lumber, wood pulp, plywood, wood products. Okay, there is something called as timber carriers. Okay, Canada is one of the biggest exporter of timber. Okay, the Great Lakes of Canada, you will very often find that lot of timber ships are getting moved. But timber is lashed onto the deck of the ship and the ship keeps moving. Then other industrial materials, industry materials such as cement, salt, gypsum, mineral sand, asbestos, chemicals, and many others. This accounts to 7 to 9% of the seaborne trade. And other manufacturers such as textiles, machinery, capital goods, vehicles, this accounts 2 to 3% of the seaborne trade. So if you have to just sum it up, you can visibly see that 45% of the seaborne trade is dominated by the energy trade. The next 20 to 25% is by the steel industry trade or metal industry trade. And the third is the agricultural trade, almost 13%. So predominantly, this is how is the composition of the goods that is traded by sea. Now, you can very visibly see this. This development will very clearly show you that how is the index moving. You can see the tanker trade, you can see the other dry cargo, you can see the main bulk cargo. Can you see this? How container industry is increasing? Okay, container industry today is perhaps the fourth after tanker shipping and then after break bulk shipping. Then there are a few other industries, but surely the way it is exponentially growing, you will find that container trade actually becomes a very, very major part. In fact, the major part of the shipping business. Okay. Now, this is how you can see a break bulk ship looks, or a dry cargo ship looks. I'm sorry. A bulk carrier ship looks. Okay. Can you see this? Okay. This is an SCI ship. The name of the ship is Vishwa Diksha. Okay. Bulk carrier. Bulk carrier will carry dry cargoes. Okay. You can see the cranes over here. You can see the, the break bulks, they will have cargo holds in between. You can kind of see the cargo holds over here. Okay. And you can see that there are 5 cargo holds and there are 4 cranes to serve this 5 cargo holds, right? This is one of the, what do you call it, as a Panamax bulk carrier owned by SCI. This is a break bulk. You can see this funnel. This funnel is typical of SCI. You can see an Ashoka Chakra over here. Okay, this is how a break bulk ship looks. Now, what do break bulk mainly carry? Break bulk carries many cargoes, but these 3 are the major cargoes. Okay, one is coal, another is iron ore, and third is grain. These are the 3 major cargoes which is carried. Almost you can say 70 to 75% of dry cargoes will be dominated by these 3 cargoes: coal, iron ore, and grain. Okay. Now you can look at this ship. Okay, isn't she beautiful? And she looks majestic, isn't it? A ship is called as she. Huh? Remember that. Okay, ship is called as she. It is not called as he. You call mother ship, daughter ship, sister ship. Okay, it is referred in a feminine gender. Okay, उसमें बहुत jokes है, but this is one. Like if you ask any old sailor, an old time sailor, जो 60 years, 70 years का होगा, that why is a ship called she? तो वो बोलेगा, it is like a mother to us. It protects us from the perils of the sea. It gives us food, it gives us water, it gives us life. So we call her a she. This is what the old time sailors will say. If you then after that, a lot of people started saying a ship is called she because cosmetic appearance is important. That is one philosophy. Another is that a ship is called she because men manage them better. ऐसा भी बोलते हैं. All that jokes came up. But one thing which I liked the most, you know, in a joking way, what I like the most is a ship is called as she because it is easy to obtain but difficult to maintain. Okay, so this is one beautiful philosophy. My wife is not there, no problem. Okay, so this is the best thing which I like. Okay, technical management of a ship can really be very, very killing. I have really realized that. You can see this. This is a tanker ship. This is a VLCC. Okay, very large crude carrier. इसको क्या बोलते हैं हम लोग? Very large crude carrier. मेरे ख्याल से ये देश का सबसे बड़ा crude carrier है. ठीक है? They are called as VLCC. इसका dead weight यानी total carrying capacity इसका 3,20,000 टन है. Okay. So this ship generally carries cargo approximately 2,80,000 tons of crude oil. You see this, it's a typical tanker ship. Tanks are there. The deck will be generally clean. You can see a ship manifold over here. Okay. SCI has 5 VLCCs, Desh Virat, Desh Vishal, Desh Vaibhav, Desh Ujala. Like that we have 5 ships, all Desh series. So these are, what do you call it as? The VLCCs, okay? Then, yes, now this is one of the container ship of SCI, okay? This is not a big size container ship, a small container ship with carrying capacity of 5,000 TUs, 4,750 TUs is what it generally carries. SCI Mumbai, we have SCI Mumbai, SCI Chennai, SCI owned container ships. You can see these containers are stacked, right? They are properly lashed, stacked. And
sir, what is TUs?
Sorry?
Sir, what is TUs?
Okay, TEUs. TEU is 20 equivalent units. TEUs is 20 equivalent units. 20.
Sir, can I say that it is 20 feet equivalent unit?
हाँ वही है ना. Okay, it is a 20 feet equivalent unit, 40 feet equivalent unit. These are the standard size of containers that is traded. Okay. अगर आप रास्ते पे जाते हो, आप जनरली देखते हो चैसेस के ऊपर, ट्रक्स के ऊपर आपको जो कंटेनर्स दिखता है वो 99% 20 फुट का होगा. 40 फुट का भी कभी कभार आपको दिखेगा. ओके, ये स्टैंडर्ड साइज है कंटेनर का. TEUs means 20 foot equivalent units. So this is how a container ship looks. Okay, just to give you a feel, especially for those freshers, to get to know that what they are getting into. You know, they need to know what they are going to study. Okay, you can beautifully see that this is an LNG ship. Again, an SCI partially owned LNG ship. The name of the ship is Disha. We have Disha, Asim, Rahi, different types of LNG ships. You can see this, they have a membrane tanks. Okay, you can have a cylinder tanks or you can have a membrane tanks. This is membrane tanks of an LNG ship. This is the type of ship which I said is the most expensive to make because they need to maintain the cargo at a very low temperature, minus degrees. The cargo will have to be maintained. Okay, you may be knowing LPG, LNG, they are generally loaded in a liquid form. Then this is one offshore support vessel, you know, offshore support vessel. This is an AHTS, Anchor Handling Cum Support Vessel, AHTS, okay. Name of the ship is SCI Urja. It is an 120-ton bollard pull anchor handling tug owned by SCI. See, I'm showing you SCI photographs, not that I'm campaigning about my company. These photographs I can easily get. That is the reason I'm showing you these photographs. Okay, so
all the SCI vessels are handled by JM Baxi only, na sir? Correct?
No. Who told this?
Because sir, I am in a shipping agency, so as I know, maybe.
No, definitely not. It is a myth that you have. First of all ships are not in India. Okay, first you know that.
But most of the government ships are handled by JM Baxi, sir. Is this right?
No, no. See, let me tell you, JM Bakshi is a most common agent at most of the ports in India for SCR. Particularly Mumbai and the Gujarat ports is handled by JM Bakshi. Okay, and that is the reason they are so visible in Bombay. But if you look at Cochin, we have another agent. You look at Vishakhapatnam, we have another agent. Chennai, Calcutta, we have our own offices. If you see East Coast India, JM Bakshi, I think barring Gangavaram, there is no other place that they are handling. West Coast India, particularly Maharashtra and Gujarat, is handled by JM Bakshi. Okay. Now, this is SCI Urja. You can see that it is an anchor handling tug. देखो ये tugs का क्या खासियत होता है? You know, offshore, you may be knowing offshore activities जहाँ पर oil and gas exploration होता है, वहाँ पर you have to give some support ships. The unique thing about these ships have huge horsepower. Okay, I told you Bollard pull 120 ton. So this one SCI Urja is good enough to tow a VLCC like Desh Virat. Okay, Desh Virat is a VLCC. Suppose वो stuck हो गया पानी में, उसका इंजन काम नहीं कर रहा है, तो आपको हिलाना पड़ेगा ना शिप को. तो ऐसे टग्स को यूज किया जाता है to pull the vessel and take it to another place. So these ships, though they look very small, the power to pull and push is very high. Okay, so these are the kind of tugs. Just to give you a simple, you know, offshore support industry is again a very specialized subject. Unfortunately, our syllabus does not cover it in a big way. In a very minuscule way, it is covered in chartering, but it is a business in itself. Okay, offshore support industry. Okay, so this is again an anchor handling.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, my question is that, sir, despite of several development in our port sector in India, why government of India is giving most of our national ports to private hands? What is the reason behind it, and what is the strategy that government is assuming before giving majority of ports to private hands?
Yeah, okay, I appreciate your question, but you know, let it be in sync with what I'm discussing. You know, if it is not in sync with what I'm discussing, we are going to go very, very slow, and we will not be in a proceed in a you know, see, there is 4 sessions of 12 hours. You know, if I drag unnecessarily, I will not be able to complete the portion. Okay, I can understand your passion, your curiosity to know things, but frankly speaking, what you are asked is totally out of context for what I am discussing. Okay, but having raised that, let me tell you very simply. When the governments change, their economic policies change. When their economic policies change, so do their methodology of governance also change. This government believes in a very simple philosophy: minimum government, maximum governance. Okay, you may be knowing that has been their election tagline also. Minimum government means they believe that government has no business to be in business. Government shouldn't be in business. Business should be something that should be handled by the private sector. Government should only have governance. That means they should lay down the policies and framework for the private companies to operate. This is the philosophy of the government. Now, what has happened is that major port trusts, okay, you may be knowing they are big port trusts, like all the major port trusts, Mumbai, Chennai, Vishakhapatnam, Cochin, New Mangalore. These are all, even JNPT, they are all port trusts. Okay, they are public trusts. Okay, it is run by set of trustees who undergo an appointment. So the money is a public money. Now, what happens is that today there is a lot of infrastructural development that is required to come to the ports. The equipments, the installations in the ports regularly needs to be changed. Okay, you initially had reach takers to handle your containers. Today you are having side lifters to handle your containers. You need to have better quality gantry cranes. You need to have better facilities to permit inward outward movement of the vessels. You need to have very effective dredging methodologies by which the drafts can be controlled and the ships can easily come to the ports. So government has decided that why to pull in the public money, when you pull in the public money, what happens is the process gets little bit delayed. The implementation is little bit slow. The payback time is relatively slow. So what they feel is that we should have a PPP model, that is private-public partnership, wherein what the public porters should do is that they should either get disinvested, go into private hands, that is option one. If they cannot be disinvested, some part of the ports, some areas of the ports, they can be leased to the private parties for 99 years, and they can develop the port by which it will facilitate the trade. Okay. Now, this is the philosophy of the government. If you ask a communist, he will say that it is absolute nonsense of giving these properties to private hands like Adani's. Those buggers will make money from the day one by using the natural resources, by using the government resources which belong to the people. Now, this is so we will say that government, private people have to handle it. They are anyway paying us tax. They are developing that area, and we are not selling it off. We are only giving it on lease. Okay. As far as the BJP government is concerned, they want to have a very capitalist model of running the business. They are very clear about it, and they are very open about it. Okay. But if you look at the other governments in the past, they generally did not disturb the public assets. They did not disturb the government companies. They didn't believe in going for a disinvestment in a big way. This government believes in that concept, and that is one of the reasons why private ports are today slowly coming. They are not only, you may be knowing, very recently one of the berth in Bombay port is given away, is been put for auction for private use. Like that, it is happening. So now we will have to see how it goes. So it is more to do with the government policies and government's ideology of running the economy. Okay, is that very clear?
Yes, sir.
So friends, one very important point which I want to make over here, this slide, and we'll take a small break, that shipping is indeed the cheapest mode of transportation. All of you know that, okay? Somebody told me that shipping is cheapest mode of transportation because ship is cheap. No. Don't be under a wrong impression. Shipping is not cheap at all. Shipping is the most expensive form of transportation. Okay, the cost associated in running a ship is much more than running any mode of transportation. Whether it is the road transportation, rail transportation, or whether it is air transportation, shipping has more complexity. The cost associated in running a ship is much more than any form of transport. But still we say it is the cheapest mode of transport. The reason being is the huge volume that the ships can carry. Okay, ships carry huge volume of cargo. Can you imagine? Can any transport carry 3 lakh tons of cargo? It's impossible. No mode of transport can carry 3 lakh tons of cargo. A very large ore carrier in dry bulk. Okay, I'll give all of you an homework now. Write down the homework. Next class, when you come, you people should have the types of tankers and types of bulk carriers. Okay, what are the different types of tankers and the different types of bulk carriers? Write it in a piece of paper and keep it ready. Okay, I will tell you. Like in tankers, you are having handy tankers, MR tankers, long range 1 tankers, long range 2 tankers. You have Aframax tankers, Suezmax tankers, very large crude carrier, ultra large crude carrier. These are the type of tankers you have. Bulk carriers, you have mini bulk carriers, you have handy bulk carriers, handy max bulk carriers, Supramax bulk carriers, Panamax bulk carriers, Cape size bulk carriers, very large ore carriers. Okay, different type of bulk carriers are there. Depending upon the loading capacity, the names keep changing. Okay, so do this exercise, it is worth it. You need to know what are the types of tankers and what is the approximate dead weight, what is the carrying capacity of the ships, and what are the types of bulk carriers, what is the carrying capacity of the ships. Okay, so it is the cheapest mode of transportation.
Excuse me, sir.
Cheapest, yeah.
It's Imran. Just I want to say, isn't the pipelines are the cheapest mode of transportation?
Pipeline is a competition for tanker shipping. Okay, pipeline is the competition for shipping, tanker shipping. I don't know whether it is the cheapest mode of transport, honestly. It will depend upon the project cost and the length of the pipeline. Like you may be knowing, from Canada to United States, today pipeline transport has substituted tanker ships. Okay, so pipeline transportation is predominantly used for petroleum movements, and it is a substitution for tanker shipping. Okay, generally, do we call pipeline movement of goods as pipeline transportation? Do we call them as pipeline transportation? I'm not very sure.
Basically, it's liquid and gases we transport through pipelines.
Yeah, that's right. I think the challenge is the project outlay, but definitely once the installations have happened, all you need is to pump cargo from one place and the other place has to receive cargoes. Okay. You may be knowing that between Canada and US, because of the back pressure in the pipelines, still a lot of tankers ply between these two countries. Okay. I think logistic challenges are quite huge. Even in developing countries, pipeline transportation had its own challenges. But yes, it's true. Like today, the BH crude, which is moving from Mumbai, it's predominantly supplied through pipelines. Okay. So since last 20, 30 years, it has been supplied through pipeline. It continues to be supplied through pipelines. Okay. Little wonder that countries big or small depend on merchant shipping to transport goods in large quantities. The real competition is the road transport, but this also is limited to small quantities and over small distances in landlocked countries. Yes, whenever transportation is to be done between two landlocked countries, countries which doesn't have an access to sea, then shipping cannot survive. Am I right? It is only by way of a road transport that you can move the goods. Merchant shipping does plays a very important role in building. All of us know that, let me tell you, it is believed that 90% of the 90% of the international trade, 90% of the international trade in volume, not in value, 90% of the international trade in volume is carried by the ships. It is carried by sea. 70% of the international trade in value is carried by sea. Okay, तो अगर इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड को सरवाइव करना होगा तो शिपिंग का होना बहुत जरूरी है. शिपिंग जैसे इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड पे इंटरडिपेंडेंसी है. Shipping is dependent on international trade. International trade is also equally dependent on shipping, because shipping is the 90% of their business happens on ships. Okay, so that is what it is believed. It just says the criticality of the shipping industry. The last point, shipping is a dynamic, cyclical, and highly volatile industry. Okay, I will come to this. What do you mean by dynamic? What do you mean by cyclical, and what do you mean by highly volatile industry? I will explain that to you. We will take a small break now. It's 11:40. What time you want me to assemble back?
10 minutes.
10 minutes break is good enough?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can have a sip of coffee, tea, water, whatever you want. And after 10 minutes, we will come back. I will finish the introduction and we will start the first lesson for today. As somebody said, demand and supply. Okay, we will be discussing the first lesson, demand and supply for shipping. Okay, so with that note, I just sign off for 10 minutes. Imran, I will join back. Irfan, I will join back after 10 minutes.
Sure, sir.
Right, thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, welcome back, friends. And let's continue with our discussion to introduction to shipping. We were at this slide wherein I had said that shipping industry is a very dynamic, cyclical, and highly volatile industry. What do you mean by dynamic? Dynamic basically means it is ever changing. It is continuously changing. The change is definitely in the make of the ship. Change is in the equipment on ship. Change is in the automation of the ship. Lot of changes are happening. Like the kind of ships which was flying in 60s, 70s, 80s, all have undergone substantial change. Okay, Previously, ships used to be made of wood, then came steel, then came heavy steel, then came light steel. The make of the engines have changed. Okay, previously a very sturdy ship used to consume a lot of fuel. Then you came into something called as fuel efficient ships. Now you are having something called as eco-friendly ships. So many green ships, what you call them. So there are a lot of changes that is happening in the shipping industry. Even the trade patterns have changed. You can see a lot of changes that is happening in the trade patterns of the shipping industry. And that is the reason you call shipping to be a very dynamic industry. It is ever changing. You call it to be a cyclical industry. Now, this is one very unique feature for the shipping industry, that it is cyclical in nature. Okay, in Wall Street concept, you will call it as cyclical. What do you mean by cycles? You know, I will be having a full-fledged session on it, so I will not discuss it in great length. You need to know that there are some business cycles. Okay, every business has some cycle, and some business are cyclical in nature. Okay, it follows certain pattern. Okay, we will exactly demonstrate that why shipping is said to be a cyclical industry. Okay, remember what I said is shipping is a cyclical industry. Don't say shipping is a cycle industry. Okay, the meaning will change. Don't do that. It is a cyclical industry. It is one of the feature, okay, that shipping has. Then shipping has high volatility. What do you mean by volatility? What do you mean by volatility? Volatility means
ups and downs.
Stability.
Yes, there is no stability. There is a lot of ups and downs. Like if I have to say, Sensex is very volatile. What is Sensex? Sensex is the index of the Bombay Stock Exchange. Am I right? The market index of the Bombay Stock Exchange is Sensex. The index for the National Stock Exchange is Nifty. If you really plot the Sensex, you will see that it is very, very volatile in nature, extremely volatile in nature. Okay, like that, shipping industry is also very, very volatile in nature. The freight markets keep on changing. There will be always no consistency in the freight markets. It will go through a lot of ups and downs. Okay, to give you a simple example, let's take the case of a bulk carrier. Okay, a dry bulk carrier. All of you remember 2008, 2009, dry bulk carrier shipping had a very good market. It was in the state of boom. It was in a very good market. A standard vessel like a Supramax bulk carrier loads about 55 to 56,000 tons of cargo. A Supramax bulk carrier loading iron ore from Haldia. Where is Haldia? East Coast India. In the state of West Bengal, East Coast India, you have a port called as Haldia. From Haldia to China in 2008, second half, that is after the month of June, the freight markets had touched the roof. The Supramax bulk carrier was getting fixed at a rate of $80,000 to $90,000 per day. Means this was the earning potential of a Supramax bulk carrier, which was loading iron ore from Haldia in East Coast India to China. A Cape-size bulk carrier loads about 130,000 tons to 140,000 tons of dry cargo. It was getting fixed almost close to $150,000 to $175,000 for a voyage from Brazil to China. You can see the duration of the voyage. This I'm telling you is the per day earning of the ship. $150,000 to $160,000 to $75,000 per day earning of the ship. This was the scenario in 2008. Then the market fell. The market came down. The Supramax bulk carrier, which was earning $80,000, for a voyage from East Coast India to China, the rates came down to such level that in 2011, these ships were getting fixed at $1,000 per day. Okay, can you beat that? $80,000 was the $80,000 to $90,000 was the earning potential of the ship. It came down to $1,000 to $1,250 per day. SCI, we had fixed ships at $750 per day in 2011, 2012, loading from East Coast India going to China. Okay, and the Cape size bulkers, which were earning $1,60,000, $1,75,000 from Brazil to China, was getting fixed at $4,000, $3,500 per day. Okay, can you see the steep decline in the freight market? Okay, now why this has happened? This has happened is because you should know what is shipping economics. Only person who understands maritime economics will understand the reason of this volatility. Okay, shipping market is very, very volatile. It keeps on changing. And you know what is the best part about shipping is, you know, there's a very famous economist by the name Martin Stopford, a maritime economist. And he very beautifully said that shipping is not a management business. Why he says it is not a management business? The ship, which was operating in 2008, it was getting almost $90,000. The ship is the same, the crew is the same, the management is the same, everything is the same, but the same ship's earning potential in 2011 has come down to $1,000 to $1,200 per day. And that is the reason it is not a management business. But what is it? He's saying it is a gambling business. So shipping per se, he was saying, is not a management business. Your management jargons, your efficiency, your input-output ratio, all this has no meaning. It's very, very clearly evidenced. It is a gambling business. What time, what call you take on your shipping arrangements will actually determine the effectiveness and productivity of your company. So beautiful statement he made. And by and large, most of the people who are in the industry has to definitely agree with it. That it is no longer a management business, but it's more of a gambling business. So with that note, shipping cycles is something which I will be taking in session number 3. Let's look at one more very unique feature about shipping. You know, in shipping, every ship has a citizenship, so to call it. Every ship has a citizenship. I use the word citizenship. It basically means where the ship is flagged. The flag that the ship carries will tell you where does the ship belong. Surabhi, you have any question? I can see you have raised your hand. Surabhi Jay, do you have any question? Okay. So friends, you know, like if you are to say Indian ships, they will have the Indian flag. Means they are flying the Indian flag. They are registered with the Indian administration. They are flying the Indian flag. Okay. But if you really see, this will very clearly tell you, majority of the registration of the ships is not happening in their national flag. They are happening in a foreign flag. Okay. There are some countries called as FOC countries. FOC stands for Flag of Convenience. FOC stands for Flag of Convenience. These are the countries which are having very easy process for registration of the ships. These are the countries which do not have too much of money associated for paying at the time of registering the ships. These are the countries which are relatively easy with respect to the laws related to manning, laws related to the management of the ships. Now, which are these countries? Countries like Panama, countries like Liberia, countries like Cyprus, So what do the owners do is that they may belong to a particular country, they buy the ship, but they don't register with their national flag. They register with a foreign flag. They go to this FOC. Okay, like in India, there are some Indian entrepreneurs who actually own ships, but they don't register in India. Because why? Indian registration is complex, tax models are difficult. India is signatory to many international regulations, conventions, bilateral laws. So all that will get implemented onto Indian flagships. So just to avoid that, just to have the flexibility of lesser operating cost, they go and flag it with FOC countries, that is flag of convenience. So the matter of the fact is 77% of the tonnage, 77% of the world tonnage is actually flagged out. Only 23% is flagged with the national registries. Okay. Now this is something which is very unique to shipping, and that is the reason I brought it out. Okay, so friends, I hope with this all of you have got a feel, the basic introduction to maritime economics. Yes, Mr. Shri, you have raised your hand.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
But we can't register it outside India, no?
Of course we can register. Who says we can't register outside India? Great Eastern Shipping Company, India's largest private shipping company. They register their ships in India also. They register their ships in Singapore, Panama also. Who says we can't register outside India? You have bought a ship. You can register it in India or you can register it outside. That flexibility is always okay. Shipping Corporation of India being a national shipping company, we don't register outside as a matter of policy.
Can the ships can be multiple flags? 2 flags? Can they fly 2 flags?
No, you can only fly 1 flag. Okay. You cannot have dual flags.
So why this question arose? Because last lecture it was told that, they've just misunderstood last lecture. Actually, it was told that, there is certain requirement where, gross tonnage, equal amount of gross tonnage should be shared with Indian owners. Some ships should be registered in India and some should.
I will tell you.
So that is what he is misunderstood. That is the reason why he's asking.
No, I'll tell you. Now, what is happening is there is something called as second registry.
Yes.
The concept called as second registry is expected to be implemented. It is not ratified. So since it is not ratified, I don't want to complicate it. What they are trying to say is that those countries which are actually flagged out, those ships which are flagged out, they need to be given an opportunity to be reflagged in India. Okay. And we can consider something called as a second registry. So we become the second home of registry. So when we become a second home of registry, so suppose the company is having some total gross tonnage, some part of the tonnage, if they are registering in India, they will enjoy some benefits of being an Indian flag. Okay. I believe this has only been chalked out in the Merchant Shipping Act, however, it has not been implemented. So since it's not implemented, it's pretty in a fluid stage. It will not be appropriate to comment on. Okay. Right. So friends, this was the introduction to maritime economics. Now we will get on with our first topic for today, first lesson, which is the topic on demand and supply. Okay, very interesting topic. I'm doubtful whether I can complete the entire lesson, but I'll try to do that. I hope all of you can see the slide.
Yes, sir.
Demand
Yes.
and
Yes, sir.
very nicely this photograph tells you that demand. Yes, Mr. Gaikwad, do you have any question?
Sir, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Sir, I've been taken admission yesterday only. So how many lectures have been missed of this class?
I have no idea, my friend. How will I know that?
You just have
So
a
because
talk with admin. Excuse me. You can put a mail to admin@nmis.net, or you can call her. She will give you rest of the information regarding the lectures and other things. Please don't post questions during the lecture regarding any other question regarding the topic. Thank you.
okay, sir. Okay, sorry, sir.
No issues, no issues. It's okay. Yeah, you just call Mrs. Gokhale. She will guide you. She will be able to help you. Okay, if I am correct, this is my first session for this academic year. Okay. Now, friends, as somebody was saying, economics is a study of supply and demand. Not really exactly, because supply and demand are the two market forces which is extremely important in any economic situation. So that is what it is all about, that we will be learning about what is supply and what is demand, and how this concept of law of supply and law of demand, it applies to shipping. That's what we are going to learn. Now, you know, supply and demand is something which definitely exists in any form of industry, isn't it? Even in life, supply and demand is very, very important. Invariably, you will see that that will determine what is the situation. Let's say the job market. Okay, if you have to see a job market, there is always some kind, some place, some sectors where there is excess supply, less demand, and there are some sectors where there is excess demand, less supply. Often you find that kind of a scenario, and that will determine what will be the price for that particular profession. Okay, so demand supply imbalance or demand supply study is something which exactly determines an economic situation. So we call them as the two market forces which influences any situation. Now, before we get on to the concept, how does it apply, demand, law of demand and law of supply, let's simply try to understand what do you mean by law of demand. Okay, can anybody want to attempt? What do you understand by law of demand? Law of demand is an old school concept. It is a concept which was advocated by Alfred Marshall, and it basically tells you, what does it tell you? Anybody can attempt it? What do you mean by the principle of law of demand?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
May I?
Yeah, please, please. I can't see you, so please.
Higher the price of the commodity, the lower the. Yes, sir.
I couldn't make out. I couldn't make out. I think we were written in between.
Higher the demand, higher the cost.
Higher the demand, higher the cost. Okay. Any other view?
So if demand increases, the price will decrease. It means that, in simple words, price and demand are in inverse of each other. Demand and price have has inverse relationship.
Demand and price has inverse relationship. Very good, very good. But what did you tell? You said that when demand increases, price decreases. Does it happen that way?
No.
A demand for a particular goods have gone up. Will the price decrease or will the price increase?
It will definitely.
Sometimes it will be decrease also, because supply will be increased.
If the price of particular good increase, the demand decrease.
And the
It's all depend on.
The price definitely increase if the demand
increases.
When the demand increases, price will also logically increase, right? A movie gets released. Okay, there is huge demand for the movie. Will the price of the tickets go down or will it go up? Okay.
It will go up.
Go up.
If the supply is limited, then it will go up. If the supply is plenty and demand is also in same ratio, then it may be stabilized.
Okay. I can see somebody has written something in the chat box, but I'm not able to open the chat. I don't know why. Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. Geeta Damle. Okay.
Sir, if the demand is very high, then the price will be also increased.
Demand is high, then price will also increase. Okay.
Sir,
Geeta Damle, you have asked a personal question. Do one thing. You take.
So we can talk about it later on. It's not part of the lecture. That's the reason I've kept it on the direct message.
No problem. What you need to do is that just take down the mobile number from the institute and you call me. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now coming to the point of what do you mean by law of demand. Okay, we'll get on to the subject. One good thing what I could make out is that one gentleman very correctly established the relationship. Law of demand deals with two variables, that is demand and price. These are the two things that it discusses, demand and price. It has got nothing to do with supply, because we are discussing law of demand, we are not discussing law of supply rate. What is the relationship between price and quantity demanded? Variation in price, how will it impact the quantity demanded is what we are discussing. Now, the law of demand, it can be best demonstrated through this chart. You can see on the vertical axis, there is price, and on the horizontal axis, you can see the quantity demanded. Can you see this? Just 1 minute. I think, just 1 second. I'll again share the screen. Unknowingly, I opened the keynotes. Instead of keynotes, I should open the PPT. I open the PPT, then it will be easy. Is the PPT visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, now see over here, on this vertical axis, you are having price, and on the horizontal axis, you are having quantity demanded. When price of a particular commodity is P1, quantity demanded is Q1. Price falls from P1 to P2, quantity demanded logically increases from Q1 to Q2. You know how it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this, and horizontally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this it goes. So when price falls from P1 to P2, quantity demanded increases from Q1 to Q2. Price further falls from P2 to P3, quantity demanded increases from Q2 to Q3. Meaning, when price is highest at P1, quantity demanded is least at Q1. When price is least at P3, quantity demanded is high at Q3. Thus establishing an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. That is what one gentleman said. But what is a mistake he did is, he said if the change is there in demand, what impact it will have on price? No. Law of demand does not say change in demand, what is the impact on the price? It says change in price, what is the impact on the demand? Okay, that is the whole difference. It establishes the impact on the demand due to variation in the price. So that is a very simple thing. Price goes down, demand increases. Price further goes down, demand further increases. That is, when you plot it in a graph, you are getting a downward slope, and this is called as the demand curve. Okay. Now, this is what is the concept of law of demand, establishing inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Now, you should understand that every economic principle, this is economic principle is on results. You are making some big assumptions, and on the basis of these assumptions only, you come down to a principle. There will be exceptions to the principle. There will be some exceptions to the principle. And there will be some logical criticisms to the principle. So every law, every economic bill, it has set of assumptions, it has set of exceptions, and it has set of criticism. Okay. Now, we are not learning economics deep into it, though it's my favorite subject. The law of demand establishes inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. You need to understand that this entire principle is on a one basic assumption, that other things being equal. You are assuming all other things are being equal, then only this principle will apply. Okay. If something goes wrong here or there, then this principle will not apply. Okay. To give you a simple example, suppose I am staying alone. Just imagine, I am staying alone in Bombay, in one of the flat in Bombay. I am staying alone. Tomorrow somebody tells me I don't know how to cook and all. Okay, I have no idea how to cook. I really have no idea how to cook. Now, tomorrow suppose there is a national bandh. There is a strike declared. There is a national bandh. All shops are going to be the foot of lockouts now. So, or lockdowns. So there is going to be a complete lockdown. Not even one shop will open. You know, I rushed to a bakery shop late in the evening. Only one bakery shop is open. And he has got only one loaf of bread. He has only one loaf of bread. Now, what is the price of one loaf of bread? I will tell you. I'm a married man. I can tell you this. You know, there are different types of bread. White bread, wheat bread, multi-grain bread. Okay. Buying experience se mere ko malum hai. The standard price of a white loaf bread will be 25 rupees. That is the standard price for a white loaf bread. I go to the shop in a panic situation, realizing that tomorrow is a bandh. I ask the shopkeeper, what is the price of this one loaf of bread? He tells me rupees 30. Will I buy the bread or will I not buy the bread? He is the last shop available.
We will buy.
I will buy, right? I have two options, either to starve tomorrow or to buy the loaf of bread. So I will buy the bread. Now, logically, this defies the law of demand. When the price has gone up, logically, the demand should have shrunk, but the demand is intact over here. Now, why the demand is intact? Because other things are not equal over here. Situation is not equal. It is a situation of panic. Consumer behavior has changed because of a panic situation created by the surroundings around here. So that is the reason I say that other things being equal. So when other things being equal, the concept of law of demand will generally play. It will generally run. Now, there are some exceptions to the law of demand. Okay. I don't know whether you have heard of something called as Giffen goods. Giffen, Giffen goods.
Yes, yes, sir.
Giffen goods is an exception to the law of demand.
Certain inferior goods.
So what happens in case of Giffen goods? Giffen was an economist in England. And you know, somewhere in beginning 19th century, England is a labor economy. What was happening is that the price of the bread came down. The price of the bread came down. When the price of the bread came down, the demand increased. Price of the bread further came down. The demand, instead of increasing, demand started going down. The more the price of the bread was going down, the demand for bread was also going down. Now, why such a thing was happening? There was something called as a subsidy that came into play. Bread is a staple food in Great Britain during those days. So when the price of the bread came down, the people had more money with them. So instead of buying bread, they shifted to a superior goods like pancakes. So what happened is when the price of the bread came down, the demand, instead of going up, it started going down. So these are called as the Giffen goods. You know that substitution effect sometimes plays into effect. Now, there are some other exceptions also. For example, prestigious goods, goods that display your prestige in the society. For example, M.F. Hussain paintings, to give a simple example, because I personally witnessed it. In Worli, there was one painting gallery. We were working in Worli SCA branch office. There was one painting gallery. I got an free entry pass through Vodafone Mobile. During those days, it was called as Orange Mobiles. They gave me one entry pass and I went into the gallery. I was invariably seeing the paintings which were more expensive, they were in huge demand. Paintings which were less expensive were not much in demand. The reason was very simple. The people who were buying it, for them, it was a status symbol. It was a prestigious goods. So when it becomes a prestigious goods, the harmony between price and quantity demanded no longer exists. Because the person wants to show his status in the society. So the more expensive it is, the more likely he will buy. So these are some of the possible exceptions that you will see in law of demand. In India also, you can invariably see that the demand for gold sometimes does not fall this normal concept of law of demand. Marriage season. India mein marriage season hota hai. Like November, December is a marriage season in North and other parts of India. April, May is a marriage season in South India. And invariably, you will see the price of the gold. If you're watching the bullion market, you will see that during these seasons, the price of the gold is always under pressure. Even if the prices go up, sometimes the demand may go up. So these are all exceptions to the law of demand. Yes, Oshin, you have raised your hands. Any question?
Yes, sir. So sometimes is it possible that when the demand increases, the price also goes up? Because we see a lot in the markets. Because if I see there's a lot of demand, I'll increase my price.
Absolutely. I'm not questioning that. When the demand increases, price has to increase. That is a logical flow. That is not what is law of demand. Law of demand is when price increases, demand decreases. That's what I was saying. Yeah. The law of demand defines the relationship between the quantity demanded and its impact on quantity demanded due to variation in price. It is not variation in demand and its impact on price. That law of demand does not discuss at all. Are you getting my point? Inverse relationship is impact of price variation on the quantity demanded. Please mind that.
Yes, sir. So basically, when the prices go up because of the demand, the market is not balanced, right? The market will experience correction. So hence, this means that
corrections, I couldn't quite follow that, but I will come to that. Once I finish law of supply, how does the market balance is what I will be coming to.
Okay, so thank you.
Right. So now, this is the basic principle. Let's not go very deep into it. Let's connect it to shipping. That law of demand says prices vis-a-vis quantity demanded. Now, what is law of supply? Law of supply is just the opposite. You can see over here on the vertical axis, you are having price, P1, P2, P3. And on the horizontal axis, you are having quantity supplied, Q1, Q2, Q3. When price is at P1, quantity supplied is Q1. When price increases to P2, quantity supplied also increases to Q2, because when the prices go up, the manufacturers will manufacture more and they will supply more into the market. Prices further goes up from P2 to P3, quantity supplied further increases from Q2 to Q3. So when price is least at P1, quantity supplied is least at Q1. When price is maximum at P3, quantity supplied is also maximum at Q3, thus establishing a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. When you plot it in a chart, you are getting an upward curve, which is called as supply curve. Again, in case of supply, you are having a basic assumption that all other things being equal, it has its set of assumptions, it has its set of exceptions, and it has its sets of criticisms. Okay, I'm not getting into that. So you are having an economic situation wherein these two forces are running. One is the demand curve, which is having a downward slope, and another is the supply curve, which is having an upward curve. So often in any economy, you will come across a situation wherein there is existence of demand, there is existence of supply. When the supply curve and the demand curve both intersect each other, it is said to be the point of equilibrium. This is the most ideal situation in economics. Can some of you mute, please? I'm getting a lot of disturbance. Please mute. Thank you. Now, this is the most ideal situation in any economics, wherein demand is equal to supply at a very rational price. Demand is equal to supply at a very rational price. Whatever quantity is supplied is equivalent to quantity demanded, which determines that the supply is very, very rational. But friends, economics is not a study of equilibrium. Economics is a study of disequilibrium. I repeat, economics does not just study equilibrium, economics studies disequilibrium. Always in any market, either of the forces will be dominating. Sometimes the demand force will be dominating, sometimes the supply force will be dominating, and that will actually determine the price. So how does this principle, the principle of law of demand and the principle of law of supply, apply to shipping? In shipping also, you are having these two scenarios, wherein there is demand for shipping and there is supply of ships. When demand for shipping goes up and supply of ships is less, what will happen to the freight market? Freight market will go up. I repeat, when demand for shipping is up, supply of ships are less, what will happen to the freight market? Freight market will go up. When supply of ships is more, demand for shipping is less, what will happen to the freight market? Freight market will go down. When there is excess supply, less demand, that means more number of ships are there for moving the same cargo, automatically the freight will be under pressure. Demand for shipping is more, means more ships are required and less ships are available. Surely the ship owners have an edge, they will inflate the freight market. And that is what is the principle of law, the principle of demand and supply, how it applies into shipping. Shipping markets have been continuously undergoing a lot of topsy-turvy since last 2 decades. You will visibly see that there has been a lot of topsy-turvy going on. Topsy-turvy मतलब ऊंच नीच बहुत हो रहा है shipping market में. अगर आप देखोगे, आप कोई भी market report निकालो, कोई भी market report, कोई भी industry का, tankers, bulk carriers, containers, offshore, any industry you take out the market report, you will invariably see that they will be talking of the demand and the supply situation. And that is the reason most of the management companies, most of the big time shipping companies, they have a very close watch of what could be the anticipated demand situation and what is the likely supply situation. Because that will determine what is their projected earnings. If I'm anticipating that the demand for a particular category of tankers, let us say LR2 tankers, is going to go up in 2022, 2023, then might as well I buy an LR2 tanker today. A lot of my buying decision depends upon your anticipated demand situation, your expected supply situation. Because anticipated demand situation and my friends, please mute yourself. I request, because if you don't mute, it will disturb the entire class. The anticipated demand situation and the expected supply situation will tell the profitability of a ship owner, and a lot of decisions is taken on that basis. So I hope all of you have understood how demand and supply applies to shipping. The law is very clear, the principle is very clear. More demand for shipping, less supply of ships, freight markets will go up. More supply of ships, less demand for shipping, prices will come down. One reason why in 2009 shipping markets went into recession. It went into recession not because the demand came down. Demand came down, no doubt demand came down. But the real reason why the markets fell down was oversupply of ships. Okay. Now let's look at what are the factors which influence. What are the factors which influence the demand for shipping? यानी किन वजहों से आपको लग रहा है डिमांड फॉर शिपिंग बढ़ सकता है या घट सकता है? Okay, I'm not asking you guys because we are running short of time. I want to wind up by 1 or maybe 1:10. These are some of the factors which will directly tell you. These are some of the macro factors which you can look into, which will tell you the factors that will influence the demand for shipping. One is the health of world economy. Next is the proportion of seaborne trade. Third and the most important, average haul. I'll explain that. Fourth is the transportation cost. And finally is the political factors. World economy. You know, there is a very famous statement about shipping. And what that statement is, shipping has a derived demand. क्या है ये statement? Shipping has a derived demand. आपको बहुत बार एग्जामिनेशन में पूछा जाता है, shipping has a derived demand. Explain. इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका ये मतलब है कि शिपिंग को कोई डायरेक्ट डिमांड नहीं है, शिपिंग को डिराइव्ड डिमांड है. It is dependent on something. What is it dependent on? It is dependent on the level of international trade. If international trade is in a boom, shipping is in a boom. If international trade is in recession, shipping is in recession. It is directly linked to the level of international trade. And that is the reason we say that shipping is having a derived demand, because it is dependent upon the extent of the exempt trade. It is dependent upon the extent of the international trade. Exempt trade means export-import trade. Now, what are the parameters you need to look at, which will have a direct impact on the demand for shipping? We are not talking of supply right now. We are only talking about the demand for shipping. The health of the world economy. Am I right? And how will you know the health of the world economy? There is an indicator called as world GDP. World GDP, gross domestic product. All of you know that. What is gross domestic product? Gross domestic product is nothing but a value of goods and services that is produced in a country within its national jurisdiction. That is gross domestic product. So the more goods and services are generated, your GDP will go up. When your GDP is going up, that's an indicator which tells you what is the health of the economy. Better GDP, better health of the economy, that means better is the standard of living of the people. Better the standard of living of the people, better is the purchasing power of the people. Better purchasing power says that there is more demand for goods. When there is more demand for goods, no country is self-sufficient, there is more import of goods. So therefore, there is a demand for shipping. So the world GDP, it has a direct influence on the demand of shipping, demand for shipping. If the world GDP goes up, I don't know, I had a graph, I don't know whether I've inserted it here. When I was taking some session, I had inserted a latest graph wherein they had given the world GDP vis-a-vis the extent of seaborne trade. You could very visibly see that both the line graphs were moving parallel, they were moving in harmony. If the world GDP goes up, the demand for shipping also goes up. World GDP goes down, the demand for shipping also goes down. 3% increase in the world GDP, seaborne trade goes up by 6%. World GDP goes down, demand for shipping also goes down. This is one very important factor. Now, people are all getting scared that the world economy may not look good after the so-called perceived third wave of COVID disruptions happen. Third wave, it gets over, people believe that that will be the end of the COVID pandemic, which may happen somewhere by June 22. People believe that most of the world economies will not do well. If world economies don't do well, that is the average GDP of the world doesn't do well, you don't see a great future for shipping. But some says that no, this is a myth. Most of the economies will bounce back a big way. And in fact, the GDP is already now down. From here on, it will only go up. So actually, it will give a boost to the shipping. So already people are talking what would be the shipping scenario in 22, in 23, in 24. To a great extent, it is dependent on the health of the world economy. Particularly some countries like United States, China, Australia, Latin America, they have a direct influence on the shipping fraternity, on the shipping world. Next is a seaborne trade. Yes. International trade will definitely boost demand for shipping. But the unique thing is that the international trade should translate into seaborne trade. Then only there will be a demand for shipping. The international trade between two landlocked countries multiply. International trade between countries which does not have access to oceans, which does not have access to seas, those countries increase their exempt trade. Will it translate into shipping demand? Chances are bleak, chances are dim. Like the example I was telling you, the petroleum movement between Canada and United States multiplies, but pipeline transportation is used. Will it translate into demand for shipping? No. So while international trade has to go up, it has to translate into seaborne trade. Then only there will be an influence for demand for shipping. Third and the most important point, the average haul. The distance effect. The distance effect. Here you will be learning a very popular shipping concept called as ton mile. Okay, you can see I've written over here the concept of ton miles. How many miles the ship has traveled to carry tons of cargo? It is a ratio. Tons divided by the nautical miles that the ship has moved. Now, all of you just analyze and tell me, if the distances that the ship travel For transportation of goods, we are talking at a macro level. We are talking from a macro perspective. If the distances that the ship is traveling, if these distances increase, what will be the impact on the demand for shipping? Will demand for shipping come down or will demand for shipping go up?
Comes down. The demand for shipping comes down.
Demand for shipping comes down. Okay, I will again repeat my question for those who have not understood. अभी मैं बहुत छोटा सा एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, ठीक है, टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई मीन. हम लोग सिर्फ अभी डिस्टेंस इफेक्ट की बात कर रहे हैं. अभी इंडिया को ले लो, बिकॉज इट्स इजी फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस टू अंडरस्टैंड. India, as I told you, is the third biggest country in the world in import of crude oil. I'm third country. Predominantly, India is sourcing crude oil from different parts of the world. Predominantly, the major chunk of cargo comes from Arabian Gulf. Okay, Arabian Gulf, जहाँ पर वो Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Oman, all those countries, the Gulf countries, वहाँ से maximum crude oil India में आता है. ठीक है, because we have wonderful relationship with most of the Gulf countries. Okay, Krishna Vaishnav rightly say OPEC countries. OPEC is oil producing exporting countries. Okay, these are called as OPEC. It is an institution by oil producing countries. It also has non-Gulf countries also, like Venezuela, Indonesia, Malaysia. Indonesia, Malaysia comes and goes from OPEC. Okay, so these are the Gulf countries where major chunk of cargo comes. India is importing crude oil even from Southeast Asia, Latin America. For your knowledge, India has started even importing crude oil from United States recently. Okay, leave all that apart. Let's focus on Arabian Gulf. Arabian Gulf, आप लोगों को वर्ल्ड मैप अपना दिमाग में रख लीजिए. आपको मालूम है गल्फ कंट्रीज कहाँ पर है और इंडिया कहाँ पर है. ओके, समझ लो, just an hypothetical situation. India, instead of sourcing all this crude oil from Arabian Gulf, we shift our sourcing of crude oil to West Africa. West Africa, Nigeria, all those places. वहाँ से हम लोग कार्गो import कर रहे हैं. So definitely the distance will increase. Arabian countries are very much part of Asia. West Africa is much far. Double, triple distance बढ़ गया हमारा. अगर ऐसा sourcing हम लोग करते हैं तो definitely distances बढ़ेगा. जब distances बढ़ेगा, my question is, when the ton mile increases, when the distances increases, what happens to the shipping demand? Somebody said that
it will increase.
Shipping demand
will be increased.
Okay, one person said shipping demand will decline. Another gentleman says shipping demand will increase.
Increase,
okay.
Sir, shipping demand will increase.
Lack of availability of ships, the demand will increase as the ships are traveling more distances.
But sir, if we have option to import by our like neighbor country, then why will go for like the country that is very far?
A hypothetical situation. I told you, imagine hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't think sourcing resources from the neighboring countries is always fruitful. No, never be under a wrong.
It depends if in the West Africa it is cheaper.
Okay,
the oil is cheaper.
You know maximum electronic goods का movement कहाँ से होता है? It is predominantly China to United States. दोनों कितना दूर है देखो तुम. Are you getting it? Don't be under an impression that near है तो सस्ता है. नहीं, ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. बहुत सारा other factors play होता है. Your international trade policies, your relationship with the countries, your long-term association with the different countries, your external affairs situation. A lot of other factors plays an important role. Okay. Okay, tell me. So now I'm having a mixed reaction. Some of you are saying that shipping demand will increase. Some of you are saying that shipping demand will decrease. Okay, I will tell you a very simple, let's take a very simple hypothetical situation. China, let's take China. Okay. China is said to be the powerhouse for dry cargoes. Lot of dry cargoes go to the China. Now, a country like China, it is importing iron ore from two countries. One is, let's say, India, and another is, let's say, Brazil. Okay. One is India, another is Brazil. Now, for a ship to load cargo from East Coast India to go to China and come back to East Coast India, it will take approximately 15 days. 14 to 15
Sir,
days.
which part is East Coast?
Which part is East Coast?
Yes, sir.
Acha, which are the states in east of India?
Sir, geography is very poor, sir.
No, it is miserably poor. Very poor is a very
Sir,
sophisticated
इसमें
word.
Yes.
Odisha, West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, all these states.
Okay.
Assam, Orissa, Nagaland.
Acha, my friend, near in your somewhere you are staying nearby, is there any geography textbook of 4th standard? Please immediately refer to that. Take India's map. Take the India's map and see which are the northern states, which are the southern states, which are the western states, which are the eastern states. Eastern states, you will find West Bengal, you will find Andhra Pradesh, you will find Tamil Nadu. Then see which are these states which is having exposure to sea. When they are having exposure to sea, they will have ports. So Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Krishnapatnam, Gangavaram, Paradeep, Haldia, these are all ports in East Coast India. Mumbai, Mundra, Vadinar, Sikka, Kandla, New Mangalore, Goa, Cochin, these are all ports in West Coast India. You have understood?
Yeah.
My friend, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
East Coast India यानी जो ईस्टर्न पार्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया में आता है. इंडिया का मैप ऐसा है, ठीक है, वेस्ट ईस्ट, ईस्ट वेस्ट. ओके, सो वेस्ट में जो आता है दैट इज कॉल्ड वेस्ट कोस्ट इंडिया, ईस्ट में जो आता है दैट इज कॉल्ड ईस्ट कोस्ट इंडिया. ओके, डोंट वरी, go through the India's map, you will understand it very clearly which is East Coast India and which is West Coast India. Okay, and iron ore predominantly moves from Haldia to China. Okay, now you should make out that if, let us say, every 15th day or every 15th day of a month, China wants one parcel of iron ore. So what they will do, the ship which is loading cargo from Haldia, that ship will discharge the cargo at China. It will come back to India, load the next parcel of iron ore back to China. The same ship can shuttle between India and China because it is the every 15th day that they need the cargo. Am I right? So the demand is only of one ship if the route is between East Coast India and China. Now, suppose the same philosophy, every 15th day they need the cargo from Brazil. Can one ship meet the requirement? Impossible. For a ship to go from Brazil to China, back to Brazil, it will take 60 days. How much it will take? 60 days. So if the 15th day he wants a ship, first 15th day he will need one ship, second 15th day he will need second ship, third 15th day he will need third ship, fourth 15th day he will need fourth ship. The fifth parcel is what the first ship can reach. Are you understanding the distance effect? The first ship, it discharges cargo in China, it goes back to Brazil, brings it back, 2 months are over. So if he's sourcing iron ore from China or from Brazil, China is sourcing iron ore from Brazil, instead of one ship, he will need how many ships? 4 ships. If he's sourcing from India, how many ships he will need? Just one ship. Are you understanding the impact of the distance effect? keeping all other things the same ship, the same parcel size, everything we are retaining the same. The impact of distance on the demand for shipping. It's very simple. The more the distance, more will be the demand for shipping. Less the distance, less the demand for shipping. Very simple, as somebody very rightly pointed out. When you are traveling more, the ship is engaged in the voyage for a longer time. When the ship is engaged in the voyage for a longer time, there is demand for other ships which is looking for employment. When the ships is doing shorter voyages, those ships end up doing more number of voyages during the year, thus depriving the other ships from employment. So the demand for shipping comes down. Now, this is a very, very important parameter which every shipping practitioner, especially those who understand maritime economics, should know, that the ton-mile effect on demand for shipping. Ton-mile goes up, demand for shipping goes up. Ton-mile goes down, demand for shipping goes down. You have a 10-mark question, and they are saying, what are the factors which influence demand for shipping? You write the entire story, but you miss the average haul effect. According to me, 50% of your answer is wrong. Okay, a very important variable which actually has an influence on the demand of shipping is the distance effect, the ton-mile effect. Okay, have all of you understood it? Very
Yes,
clear?
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. The next is the transportation cost. Very simple. Am I right? Next session. Next session is very important. Next session, after I finish demand and supply, I will be discussing cost and revenue in shipping. Cost and revenue in shipping. What are the type of costs and what are the types of revenue in shipping? It is not only important for you from economics perspective. Economics perspective के लिए most important है. लेकिन आपको पूरा shipping को समझने के लिए ये lesson बहुत important है. Because हम धंधा क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why are we running ships? We are running ships to make profits. And profits depend on what? It depends on your revenue. It depends on your cost. So next session, please don't try to miss it. Even if you miss it for any reason, try to ensure that you have an access to the recorded class and go through it. Okay? Because see, the problem is that in these 4 sessions, if you miss any lesson, it can affect the flow. Like the session number 4, I will be discussing voyage accounts. Voyage accounts, I will just do 1 or 2 problems. But if you don't know the cost to shipping, you don't know the revenue to shipping, you will not understand voyage accounts. Okay? So ensure that all sessions are attended attentively. Then only you will have a better flow towards the subject, better understanding for the subject. Transportation cost, how does it affect the demand for shipping? Very simple. If your transportation cost goes up, 3 major costs are written over here. Bunker cost. What is bunker cost? The fuel cost. ठीक है, जैसे गाड़ी में पेट्रोल लगता है, डीजल लगता है चलाने के लिए, शिप में भी फ्यूल देना पड़ता है. उस फ्यूल को हम लोग बंकर्स बोलते हैं. We call them as bunkers. Okay? Like you have something called as a fuel oil, heavy oil. Modern days, you call it as very low sulfur fuel oil, okay, which is used predominantly for the main engines. Then you have something called as marine diesel oil, marine gas oil, which is predominantly used for your auxiliary engines. These are all the fuel which is used on the ship. Bunker cost. If the bunker cost goes up, the port cost goes up, the canal dues goes up. What is canal dues? You may have heard of 2 canals, Panama Canal and Suez Canal. My friend who is weak in geography, suna hai ye? Panama Canal and Suez Canal.
Yes, sir.
सुना है? ईस्ट कोस्ट इंडिया नहीं सुना है. Panama Canal, Suez Canal तूने सुना है? Okay, so these are canals. Okay, like Suez Canal is connecting the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. You have the Panama Canal on the west part of the world. Okay, now when the ships are transiting this canal, there are canal authorities who charge you money. It's not cheap. It's expensive. Like a standard Suezmax tanker, if it is going on a westbound voyage, that it is going from Red Sea to Mediterranean, you have to pay almost $450,000 to $475,000 towards canal dues. Okay, it's a big money. So this is a part of your transportation cost. If your transportation cost goes up, what will happen? The demand for shipping will go down. Yes, people will look for other methodologies of connecting the cargoes. They will look at other sources of connecting the cargoes. The demand for shipping will go down. Lower the transportation cost, more will be the demand for shipping. Now, the last factor, the political factor. In the modern world today, this has become a very important factor. Today, when there is so much of hustle and bustle in the world political activities, political factors has become the most important factor which influences demand for shipping. You might have heard of something called as US-China trade war. Have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very actively covered in most of the press, most of the mainline press. United States and China trade war, when Donald Trump was the president and the present premier in China, what was happening is that the goods imported from China, the US was increasing the import duties. In retaliation, China was increasing the import duties for the goods coming from United States. So when there was a trade war, the goods movement from China to US, US to China came down. When that was coming down, it has a direct impact on shipping. Because you can understand, इन दोनों का distance भी देखो कितना ज़्यादा है. Am I right? ये लोग टन माइल्स के लिए में बहुत कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं. अगर ये दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में मूवमेंट बढ़ेगा, टन माइल्स बढ़ेगा, डिमांड फॉर शिपिंग बढ़ेगा. Now you can see the container markets have suddenly started growing up like anything. Containers is under an extremely bullish trend. One normal box, 120 TEU, 120-foot container, which was getting shipped in China, going to United States, was fetching only $300 somewhere in February 2020. Thanks to the COVID disruptions, thanks to the shortage of containers, there was a surge in the freight market. From $300 today, almost the price of one container movement from China to United States have touched $4,000 to $4,500. $300 से कितना परसेंटेज बढ़ गया? $4,500 है आज के तारीख में. एक 40-फुट कंटेनर तकरीबन $8,000 में मूव होता है चाइना टू यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स. Political factors, pandemic factors, so many things have actually influenced this particular market. War or war-like situation, don't you think it will have an impact on shipping? Surely. It will have a great impact. When there is a war or war-like situation, ships will not be likely to go to that particular country. When you don't send your ships to that country, this cargoes will have to be sourced from other countries. When it is to be sourced from other countries, there is a shift in the ton-mile situation, and that will have an influence on the demand for shipping. Sometimes you will continue to go to the places where there is war-like situation, or where there is state of hostilities. But when you go to these countries, your marine insurance cost goes up, because you will have to pay something called as additional war risk premium. The insurance company will say that you are going to a war risk zone, you are putting your asset to risk, pay me additional premium. So when you pay the more premium, you will inflate your freight markets. It is having an influence on the demand for shipping. European Union regulations I have written. The European countries, they came out with a lot of regulation with something related to sulfur emission, something related to जो ship जब भी वहां पर जाता है वो बंकर्स बर्न करता है, बंकर्स बर्न करके वो थोड़ा सा सल्फर और नाइट्रोजन एमिट करता है, उस पे उन्होंने बहुत रेगुलेशन लेकर आया. जब उन्होंने वो रेगुलेशन लेकर आया, that had an impact for demand for shipping in that region when these regulations got implemented. OPEC decisions. OPEC, I told you, oil producing exporting countries. If OPEC decides that we are going to increase the supply of crude oil to the world market, when they are going to increase the supply of crude oil to the world market, if they are going to increase, what does it mean? More ships will be required, more demand for shipping. They decide that we are going to decrease 5%, 2% reduction in the supply of crude oil to the market. because we want to arrest the price of crude oil. We don't want the price of crude oil to come down. What will happen? Less cargo will be supplied, less ships will be required, less demand for shipping. So political factors today has become very significant, which influences demand for shipping. Okay. So friends, I have one more slide which tells you the factors which influence supply of ships. Okay. But I think we are already 1:07. So I don't want to stretch the session. In session number 2, I will be completing the supply part. In 5 minutes, I will complete the supply parts. And the next full 3 hours, I am going to devote only one topic, that is cost and revenue in shipping. Okay. So try not to miss that. So before we close for the session, do anybody have any questions?
For me, sir.
What is your question? No question. All of
Sir,
you
have we covered any important questions from the examination point of view today?
Everything that I discuss is important. Okay. You are doing a postgraduate professional program. You're not studying in 10th standard. Everything that I'm going to discuss is very, very important. Every lesson will have one question. Okay, this is session 1. You're already started thinking about examination. My students only think about examination from February 28 onwards, because exam is in March. So at least they start thinking from February 28. Okay. So don't think much about exams. Try to acquire knowledge. Try to understand the subject. Once you understand the subject, exam is just a cakewalk. Don't worry about exam. Okay. And let me tell you, there are many more topics in economics. All the topics I will not be able to cover in this 12 hours. These are only guidance sessions. These are not school sessions. Okay. Let me tell you, we all are working professionals. We only share our experience about the subject. Okay. So don't think that what I've covered is only going to come in the examination. No, nothing of that kind. Any question on maritime economics can come in your examination paper. You people are doing a PG professional program. Okay. So, but yes, demand and supply is definitely important. Introduction to maritime economics is also quite important. Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, may I ask you a question?
Please, please. That's what I've been telling.
Sir, since the economics in the maritime industry is such important topics, and you are only offering 4 classes, so is there any possibility to increase your class?
Not required, yeah. Why you want to increase the class and spend your Sundays with me?
Sir, it's not like that. Actually, I'm from different background.
No. One thing I know, you are married. Am I correct?
Sorry, I am? Yeah, definitely I am married.
Only married people want more classes. Okay. Don't spend more time with me.
Actually,
12 hours is more than enough. Okay. If you are so serious about it, what I discuss, read the study material and come. You will see the impact. Okay. If the situation warrants, we can have more sessions. There is no problem. There is no problem. Okay. We have to work on a model. That model we have decided 18 hours coaching. In that 18 hours, 12 hours we have allotted for maritime economics, and 6 hours we have allotted for shipping finance. Like last year, 12 hours में मेरा portion खत्म नहीं हुआ, because मेरा problem ये था कि मैं first time online ले रहा था. So I continued to discuss with the candidates. So candidates kept on discussing. So all my sessions got stretched. So I had to ask for an extra session. So I had 5 sessions of 15 hours. Okay. So that we can be flexible. We can see it when the situation comes. So don't worry. We can narrow it. We can extend it. That will totally depend upon you guys.
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Any other question? So fine. So shall we call it a day today? Okay. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure discussing with all of you. Okay. Somebody is asking me, can we have past papers? Baba, you contact the institute. I am not running the administration of the institute. I'm only a guest faculty. They give me the time, I come and I discuss the topics. All past papers is there in the website. Otherwise, a full set of past paper is there in the institute. Go there, take a Xerox and keep it with you. Okay, it's all available. Okay, Sahil, you want my telephone number? Kiske liye re? Sahil, I will share my telephone number, not a problem at all. Okay, it's always available. It is a public phone. Contact the institute, they will give you my mobile number. Okay, now don't do this. You people see, you know what used to happen? I'll tell you a lot of funny instances. You know, one day I was sitting in office and I was in a very, very serious meeting. I got a phone call from a student. The student was frantically saying, sir, I want to ask you an urgent question. So I said, I'm in the midst of a meeting. I can't discuss right now. She said, no, please, sir, please. You know, it was after all a lady, you know, and dil to pagal hai ji. I came out of the meeting. I thought, let me address her question. She asked me, sir, what is the difference between trip and a voyage? A very genuine question. I explained to her. Then I said that, when is your exam? She's saying, I'm sitting in the examination hall. Now, this was the height of it. So I said, has the exam started? She said, no, it is starting in 5 minutes. So that is the reason she's asking me. Okay. So this is the way I have seen the psyche of the candidates. So very much my telephone numbers are available with you. You people can call me anytime. Okay. Don't feel bad if I don't respond. It's only that I'm busy somewhere else. Okay. Yes, Sadhana, you have a question. Jaldi pucho.
Yes, sir. Actually, we got some study material from administration team. So that would be enough, or you will going to refer some book also for the subject?
Study material मैंने ही बनाया है वो. ठीक है.
Okay.
एग्जाम पास होना है तो वो बहुत है. ठीक है. अगर एग्जाम नहीं पास होना है, you want to study more, the book which I recommend is Maritime Economics by Martin Stopford. Maritime Economics by Martin Stopford. It is a classy book. You read that book, your basics and your understanding of the subject will be very well done.
Okay. Thank you.
I never referred NMIS study material. I only refer textbooks. I still refer textbooks.
So this book will get in library only, sir, or we can buy from outside also?
Buying will be expensive, my friend. It's a very expensive book. इसका older versions आपको internet में free में मिलेगा. इसका 2004, 2000 आप free में मिलेगा. That is good enough for your basics. The latest edition, you will get it in Sterling Book House near VT, but it will be expensive book. It will cost you 7,000 or 8,000 rupees. It's not worth. The free version is good enough.
लेकिन सर स्टडी मटेरियल भी ठीक, मतलब वो इनफ है ना सर, स्टडी मटेरियल जो हमारे पास है?
इनफ है, तू पहले पूरा पढ़ तो ले.
Please repeat the name of the book. Please repeat the name of the book.
Name of the book is Martin Stopford Maritime Economics. मैंने चैट में डाला है.
Sir, if you want, you can stretch the session for 5 minutes as if we don't have our second year session today, if you want.
नहीं, क्या बोल रहा है? और 3 घंटा लूँ मैं?
No, if some questions are there, if you want to extend, then you can, because we don't have today second year. It's okay.
No. We are We are closing it. This is the first session. I need to give them the liberty to interact here.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Because as it is, I don't like this online. Irfan, मैं सच बता रहा हूँ.
Yes, I understand, sir.
I don't get the feel of taking a session at all.
Definitely, sir. Even we are facing the same issue.
No problem.
But sir, जो डिस्टेंस लर्निंग स्टूडेंट है वो तो हमेशा ऐसे ही, मतलब
ठीक है, डिस्टेंस लर्निंग स्टूडेंट के लिए अच्छा है ये. I told you.
We can conclude the lecture now.
Yeah. Somebody is asking, is subject guide available? मेरे को मतलब समझा नहीं है. स्कूल में you used to get textbooks, you used to get guides. इसमें सब ऐसा नहीं होता. Atira, please grow up. Those all days have gone. You read the study material, you refer to this textbook, it's more than enough. Okay? Provided you can grasp it completely. Okay, so that's more than enough. Don't waste your time running helter-skelter for material. The study handouts given to you is good enough for you to study. Besides that, also refer to textbooks if you can. Okay. So with that note, I think we will call it a day. Thank you very much, my friends.
Thank you, sir.
I will still hang on. If you people have anything, you can put it on the chat box. Whoever wants to quit can quit. Things coming. Thank you, friends. All of you.
Okay, sir, we'll finish up.
Thank you.
Hello.
We will have a steamy second session.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.